Can folks online hear me? Jenna or?
Yes, I can hear you, Maureen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, you're good.
You hear me, Dana? Jenna?
Yes, ma'am.
I can.
No, it's just with your mic though.
Thank you, Anastasia. We're just having technical difficulties with the in-room video system. Thank you. So they can hear online, but.
You'd have to use your speakers, or no?
When I unmute, they can hear me. But when
If you
I,
hold this up, they could hear you in the room. So ask if they can hear you, and then there's. And then I'll just talk into your computer.
can people online hear me, Jenna?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay,
got
they
you.
can hear me online.
So if you hold this up to your speaker, that's what you were saying. Hold that mic, then it'll project in the room. Dana has to talk if they can't connect. You'll be able to hear through that speaker in the room. Because it's speakers.
I see this part.
Technical.
All right. So when the parents are on, let's talk about this.
Good evening. I'd like to have Dr. Bremen turn off our speakers. I'd like to call the meeting of the Newington Board of Education to order for Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. The time is 7:08 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Deb, please call the roll.
Here.
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 Milling. Timothy Newton.
Here.
Here.
Sam Sharma.
Here.
Jessica Weaver.
Here.
Anastasia Yap.
Here.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities. If you are in the room, you can come to the end of the table, one at a time. If you're online, you can raise your hand to be recognized, or you can call in at 860-665-8659, and you have 3 minutes. Also ask that you please state your name and address for the record. No problem.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Hi.
My name's Laura Kelleher, and I live at 31 Cheney Lane. I haven't come to a Board of Ed meeting before, but as a parent of 2 Newington Public School students and an alumni myself, I felt compelled to share my concerns regarding the elimination of 7th grade accelerated math. And this is not in regards to my younger child, as I don't know what his academic trajectory will be. He's going into 5th grade. My oldest son, now in 8th grade, who's with me tonight, has taken accelerated math since 6th grade and participates in the Aerospace Academy at Wallace. Accelerated math has been one of the few areas where he has truly been challenged, helping him prepare for high school honors classes, which he is enrolled in for next year. Professionally, I'm a special educator, a board-certified behavior analyst, and a school administrator. I care deeply about what's best for all students in Newington Public Schools. Throughout my time as both an educator and a parent in the district, I have placed my trust in the administration and the Board of Education to do their due diligence, to make thoughtful, data-informed decisions without requiring oversight or intervention from parents on every curriculum change. That is why I'm so disappointed in the recent proposal and approval to eliminate accelerated math after eliminating 6th grade math. I first raised my concerns privately with district leaders back at the end of April, but despite my attempts, my questions largely went unanswered. At the May 1st Parent Forum, the data presented was outdated, ranging from 13 to 19 years old, as well as insufficient. Measurable goals for the new approach have not been set, and the promised Bridge to Algebra course isn't even developed yet. The data regarding race and ethnicity, referred to as leading with data, was the most disturbing data presented in my opinion. While I'm not able to clearly articulate all of its flaws in 3 minutes, I'm more than willing to discuss that with any of you at a future date. I'm confident in saying that data should be immediately removed from the record in any presentation regarding this proposal. During a follow-up meeting with the math coordinator and assistant superintendent, I found contradictions and evasions rather than clear evidence supporting this major change. This decision also conflicts with Newington's equity initiative. True equity means giving every student what they need, not denying 100 of 300 students to be challenged if it is similar to the current makeup of the 8th grade class. Accelerated math is critical to rigor and preparation for high school honors. One reason for the proposed elimination that I have heard is that many students only take 3 years of math in high school, but that is often because they're only required to take 3 years. Both Ms. Kellogg and Ms. Freeman agreed with me during our meeting about this, contradicting the original rationale and data presented at the parent forum. Finally, I ask you, what measurable outcomes exist to show this new model works? There are none. No success metrics, no evaluation plan, no criteria to reverse course if this fails. What saddens me the most is the impact on students in the coming 7th grade class. They won't get a chance for extended acceleration later, which could affect SAT scores, as well as future academic success and opportunity.
You're at your 3 minutes. I would
Okay.
just ask you to wrap it up, please.
Sure. Why should they be a test group for an unproven plan without clear goals? I urge the board to pause this initiative for at least a year to allow further evaluation, ensuring our incoming 7th graders receive the challenges as well as the support they deserve. Thank you for this consideration.
Thank you.
Declan, why don't you go next?
I have to hold the, okay, it's just. I have I have 2 written testimonies, one from me and one from a peer that could not be here today. Can I be allowed to read both?
Yeah, just state your name and address, and within the 3 minutes.
My name is Declan Kelleher. I live at 31 Cheney Lane, and I have been able to take the accelerated math course in 6th grade, and it has been the only class where I have not been bored and disinterested. Furthermore, it is one of the only classes where I have time to focus on my own learning instead of having to explain the curriculum to other kids. While I don't mind helping my peers, I have enjoyed the opportunity to engage in an extension of my own learning. I also think having multiple years of accelerated math will have better prepared me for the honors classes I will be taking next year in the high school. I don't think this opportunity should be taken away from over 100 students. Equity is not about giving every student equity is about giving every student what they need, not giving every student the same thing. Thank you for listening and considering my request to not eliminate the accelerated math in 7th grade. The other testimony I have is from another 7th grader named Lucas Stepensky, and he lives at 129 Little Brook Drive. I'm a graduating 8th grader this year, and I have been part of the accelerated math program for 2 years. I am frankly disappointed in the Board of Education for suggesting these changes. The choice to remove accelerated math from the 7th grade is not equality or equity. It is simply stripping away the opportunity from other students who are interested in mathematics and forcing them to throw away their interest. I have been interested in math my whole life, and when I entered the accelerated math program in 7th grade, my life was changed. It allowed me to explore and learn and be challenged more about a topic I had serious interest in. If I were kept in a normal math class, I would have most likely lost interest in math because I would find it boring and not challenging enough. This is what would happen to the new students in 7th grade. This curriculum would be unable to challenge them, and they would slowly lose interest, and their talents would be lost and forgotten. In my personal opinion, disallowing kids from being challenged, squandering their talents, and forcing them into a pre-made mold of the average is not equity in the slightest. What I find equally infuriating is the choice to keep accelerated math in 8th grade but remove 8th grade math from accelerated math. This choice would lead kids being forced into either the mold of the average or skip 8th grade math entirely and start algebra instead. An above average student who would normally be in accelerated math class in 7th and 8th grade would be forced into an average and unchallenging class, and then be forced to skip 8th grade math and start algebra, which strips them of the fundamentals learned in 8th grade. This change were to be implemented, the education system would be truly failing students in 7th and 8th grade math.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Connor Bentley. I live at 58 Centerwood Road, and I'm here on behalf of the discussion of removal of 7th grade accelerated math. Now, I have been in the accelerated math program since 6th grade, and the career path that I've wanted to take since then was programming. Programming involves knowing a lot of mathematical formulas and ways to figure out mathematical problems. If I had not taken these accelerated programs, I would never be able to get to the level of math that I need in high school, which for some people, college is not always an option. So being able to learn math before college would enable some people to go further without selling a limb for college.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Dominic. I live at 265 Goodale Drive. My daughter Isabella is an 8th grader in the Aerospace Academy at John Wallace Middle School. She's a dedicated and hardworking student. She can't be here tonight because she's working on her Silver Award with her Girl Scout troop, but she did write about her experience in accelerated math and asked that I read it for you here tonight. So, in her words, accelerated math should not be taken away because there are people who rely on it for their education. If there are students that are smart enough to take a higher level of math, why would you take that away from them? Those students are going to be bored in a regular math class because they're already going to know what to do and how to solve the problems. It's unfair to those students to not be challenged and to not be allowed to increase their math knowledge through an accelerated program. In my personal experience, advanced math helped me a lot. I was able to learn a lot more and I felt challenged. I was way more focused and felt more engaged because I was learning new things and not math work I had already knew how to perform. I was happier because I wasn't bored and just waiting for class to be over. I looked forward to that class and what I would be learning instead of wishing the time away. I've learned a lot from advanced math and not just about math. I've learned problem-solving skills, how my mind works, and other skills that will help me in the future when it comes to working with others and learning new ways of thinking. Equity to me is giving everyone what they need to succeed. School is about providing people with an education, giving them skills for high school, skills for college, skills for life. You're not giving students what they need in an education by taking away advanced math. I had a great experience with accelerated math, and I strongly believe that others should have the same opportunity. If it was great for me, imagine how great it would be for others yet to come. So that's what she had to say. As parents, we've seen Isabella starting in the 1st grade, reading and performing math at a middle school level, and we pushed as much as we could to help her out with her enrichment at school. But there's only so much that we could do. There's only so much the classroom teachers, especially in early elementary school, could do, and they certainly tried to keep her engaged. In 1st grade, a reading specialist came into her class and worked with her and another student. In 5th grade, a math tutor took her and another student out of class to help with their experience at the math level. However, it wasn't until the accelerated math program came along when she finally actually had a class where she didn't need someone extra to come in or be pulled out of class to provide her with a challenge. The class did that on its own. It's been a great experience for her, and I really wish that would continue for students yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really jealous of people that can read off their phones. I need large font and glasses. My name is Martha Karsten. I live at 32 Stagecoach Lane, and I have 2 children that one attends Wallace and one attends Chafee. I'm here to advocate that the board reconsider eliminating accelerated math for 7th graders next year and complete their own research on why the proposal by the Assistant Superintendent, Kristen Freeman, and the math coordinator, Michelle Kellogg, is problematic. As stated in my letter dated April 8th, 2025, expressing my concerns that each one of you received, the information that was shared with you by them was incorrect. It should make you sit up and take notice that these administrators gave false information that painted a different story, as well as there was no defined criteria for the students that were picked in the 6th grade this school year to participate in accelerated math. It states that it is part of Newington's equity initiatives. As a special educator, that's what I do for work, I ensure every day that students receive equity and inclusion. Equity does not mean that everyone receives the same thing. That's equality. Taking away acceleration and options for our brightest math students is not equity, it's equality. I fully understand the concept of peer mentorship and wholeheartedly believe in it. However, our kids should not be expected as an extension activity to serve as the helpers in the class for the students in need. My son, who's in 6th grade, regularly works with other children on completing math problems that they do not understand. My son's district benchmark scores fall into the high school range as a 6th grader. And And to quote Michelle Kellogg, he would have been overlooked. Kids talk, and his benchmarks are higher than the kids that were picked to be in the accelerated program this year at John Wallace. Newington is in Dirg D. In Dirg D, most districts provide the opportunity for kids to take accelerated math beginning in 7th grade. The higher you move up in Dirgs, the greater participation is with accelerated math. It is available at 100% of the districts in Dirg A. The data that in the presentation is outdated and not representative of the goal. What was presented was about acceleration by skipping classes. That has not been the practice of Newington Public Schools in regards to accelerated math. I would hope that the doctor that will be performing my knee surgery in a few months will be basing decisions and treatment on current research, not research that's 20 years old. The bridge to algebra referenced has yet to be developed, and it is set to be rolled out in about 6 months' time. There are no guides, no rubrics, lessons, or scope and sequence. As a teacher who has written and reviewed multiple curriculums, this is problematic at the root level, and none of this should be considered or be put in place until all of the parts are complete and approved. In closing, I'm advocating tonight that a pin be placed in this initiative for at least a year, and that actual relevant data be found and reviewed and a curriculum developed. I ask that you do your own research and think about your own children and their pathways through school. How would this have impacted them and their experiences? Thank you in advance for your consideration.
Thank you.
Oh, Jeffrey Paul, 224 Sterling Drive. When I received the PowerPoint presentation, and it leaned into a study, the Bowler and Staples study from 2005. So I've got a article here from somebody named James Milgram, who's a professor of math at Stanford University, also along with Wayne Bishop and Paul Clopton. So a high-ranking official from the U.S. Department of Education asked Milgram to evaluate claims of Bowler and Staples in early 2005 because she was concerned that if those claims were correct, the U.S. DOE should begin to reconsider much, if not all, of what they were doing in mathematics education. So a very influential paper came out, Improving Math Outcomes, was published in 2008. The authors refused to divulge their data, claiming that agreements with Schools and Family Educational Rights Privacy Act, FERPA, rules prevented it. It turns out it wasn't true. The claimed legal foundations do not say what these authors say they do. When we found the identities of this school by other means, serious problems with the conclusions of the article were quickly revealed. I'm paraphrasing because I only have 3 minutes. There was an article written about Bowler's critique followed by a large number of comments, perhaps motivated by this article. A number of people read Milgram's and know that most of it was indisputable. Where we dissect the actual mathematics involved in Bowler Staples, it was necessary to have the real names of the schools to check it out. In some of the comments, people criticized, this is Bowler saying this, in some of the comments, people criticized me for not addressing the detailed criticisms of Milgram and Bishop. I'm more than happy to. As of this article, and 20 years later, she has never responded to any of the claims that this is outdated and it doesn't work. Indeed, and there were 3 schools I forgot to say, it was Railside, Greendale, and Hilltop. A high official at Railside located called Milgram and updated him on the situation in May of 2010. One of that person's remark is especially relevant. It was stated as bad as Milgram indicated the situation was at Railside, the school district's internal data actually showed it was even worse. Consequently, they had to step in and change the math curriculum at Railside to a more traditional approach. Changing the curriculum seems to have had an effect. In 2012, there was a 27-point increase in Railside's API score, and a larger 28% increase for socioeconomically disadvantaged students. To validate the claims, there are 3 things that need to happen. First, you have to have accurate counts. Second, one needs to verify the treatment groups were sufficiently similar. And third, one needs to evaluate the author's test to see, in fact, if they get a valid measure of mathematics. It does not appear that any of these 3 items is addressed in any detail in the Bowler-Staples article. There are some general assertions of each items 1 and 2 are done, but no details were included. So I'm not going to continue to go through this as much as I'd like to. She was dishonest at best in her assessment, Bowler and Staples. This paper proves that data was inaccurate. It was not good. She refused to give any additional information. And this is a study that we're leaning on to change our curriculum? I think not. It's a terrible, and it should have been.
You're 3 minutes.
Of course I am. Timely.
I mean, I gave
I'm
you.
aware. I know what the rule is. Thank you.
Can I yield my time to him? My name is Alyssa Ross at 222 Reservoir Road. I will, oh, I'm sorry. That's fine. My name is Alyssa Ross at 222 Reservoir Road, and I will yield my time for Jeff to finish his statement.
Thanks.
You can just hold the clock until I get back to where I left off.
Absolutely.
That would be helpful. Okay. It appears from the state data that the cohort at Railside was comprised of students in the top half of the class in mathematics. For in Greendale, it appears the students were grouped between the 35th and 70th percentiles, and the students at Hilltop were grouped between the 40th and 80th percentiles. So even the sample group wasn't even appropriate based on Bowler and Staples' original idea of how they were going to roll this out. A number of parents at Greendale were not happy about the article. About a fifth of the families with students at Greendale had made a huge effort to get traditional mathematics track reinstated there, but students had to actively select it. The parents' perspective seemed to be that Bowler had interfered with the selection process. Not only had the article extolling virtues of the IMP track posted to the school's website, but I was told that Bowler had attended private meetings between the individual parents and the lead math teacher at Greendale. We can say in reality, Bowler and Staples had already publicly identified the schools and then misidentified the data in Table 5. Moreover, there's a possibility that they picked the unique data that might strengthen their assertions rather than make use of data relevant to their treatment groups. And I can go on and on and on about the disingenuous practices that Bowler and Staples use to create this entire program that you all are leaning into and think is a great use of the kids that actually go home. They will study, they will read. Some of them do band. My daughter does soccer. She does student council. She does chorus, etc., etc., etc. She works her ass off to do well in school and well at everything that she does. But somehow now you all are asking me to tell my daughter, hey, honey, I know that you're smart and you have a 4 in math, but you can't do anything extra because other kids in your class need help. Not good enough. Not good enough. It is a disgrace. And I'm telling you now, if she helped, I'm telling her, instructing her not to help anybody in class. And if you want her to help, I'm okay with it. Put her on the payroll and pay her for her work. It's not free. She's expected to be a student, not the teacher. She's to be a student. That's what I've instructed her to do. Be a student, learn, pay attention, get along with your teachers, be respectful to them, get along with the other kids. There are certain requirements that I have of going to school. And you all leaning into this bogus study as your grounding to make this a reality. And incidentally, just so all you parents are aware, I was specifically told, no matter what any one of us say tonight, this is already done and it's not changing. So you can kiss AP math goodbye in 6th and 7th grade, and it's a disgrace. This should have been done 2 months ago when all of us could have had an opportunity to come in here and do it. But instead, like most things, when you do things in secret and you can't back up your studies, it generally ends up being a bad thing for everybody. And you all should be ashamed of yourself, to be honest. You tried to sneak this through at the end of the school year, so nobody was paying attention. And I'd like to know, and I'd like a response.
Thank you.
I want to know when all of your assignments are up and when people can run against you again, because it should never happen to a kid again. You're taking it away from a kid that's earned
Your
it.
3 minutes is up. Thank you.
Giddy up.
I can yield my time to Mr. Paul.
Mine too. I'm sorry?
Susan Bartolotta, 43 Birchland Terrace.
Sebastian Bartolotta, 43 Birchland Terrace.
Furthermore, I send my kids to FSA. Some of you may or may not know what FSA is. It is a premier club for soccer. Why do I send my kids there? Because I want them to have the best opportunity to reach their max potential. I cannot do it in the town of Newington because my kids are simply better. It's that simple. They're gifted soccer players. Some of you know, some of you may not know. They're both really good. I want to know what their ceiling is. And in order to get to that ceiling, I need to put them around like-minded athletes that are prepared to go to the edge and push themselves psychologically, push themselves physically, so they know what their cap is. Basically, what we're telling the kids in here, I know you worked hard. I know you've done your work. I know you've done everything you've been asked to do, but I'm sorry, darling. We can't do this for you because the school won't allow you to reach your cap. They will stop you from reaching their cap based on some faulty information that they leaned into in a PowerPoint presentation sent at the end of the year when no one's paying attention. Sorry, it's simply not good enough. These kids have all earned their right. The kids that are able to do it have earned their right, regardless of how a kid that didn't earn it feels. So what you're saying is, my daughter will do the right things. She'll do everything she's supposed to do. Then when those kids come in that don't do a damn thing at home, don't read, don't study, put zero effort into school, she's supposed to placate those individuals. Explain to me how that's fair or equitable to my daughter in any way. It simply isn't. They put zero effort. And I understand that's what we're all used to seeing the world now. People put no effort into things and get rewarded for it. That's certainly not how school should be. Plain and simple. She worked hard, and even my son works hard. And he tells me when he comes home, hey, Dad, I got put in a group today with 3 kids. Both kids didn't do anything but dick around the whole time, so I had to do all the work. Shocking how that works, isn't it? One smart kid gets into a group, they do all the work, the 2 kids are along for the ride, and they all get the same grade. Now we're doing groupthink. Is that what this is? Group is now school. She is a student here. A student. She's here to learn. Furthermore, not only is this lame study that was presented to the group not even probably statistically valid, I think you have a different subset of issues going on in the school that are inexcusable, in my opinion. My kids come home and tell me stories of the stuff that goes on at school, and you would be floored at the things. It's a dangerous school. People may not say it, there's a danger involved in going to that school. Do you think my kids should feel in danger when they go to school? My daughter told me Friday night, Dad, I'm scared to go to school. I don't want to get cut in the face and need to get stitches. But I guess, hey, that's normal behavior now, I guess, right? Kids getting sliced in the throat and having to get stitches. It's a disgrace. And you should all be ashamed of yourselves, quite frankly. I don't know if anyone else wants to relinquish time to go. I'm certainly on a roll.
People relinquish time to you. You have another 3 minutes.
Well, that sounds terrific. So what I'd like to know, and I know I won't get an answer today, or probably ever, quite frankly, what constitutes someone being expelled from school? I don't know, maybe getting hit over or clubbed over the head with a bat, maybe stabbed in the stomach. I don't know. I'd like to know specifically what causes someone to get expelled from school. And I say this, mind you, my son had a problem in school. I went into school. It was inexcusable what he did. Inexcusable. I said, I want him to have detention forever. I obviously was a little heated at the time when I said it, but I want him to have detention. What he did was wrong. There is a consequence for it, and I want him to have detention. And they reluctantly ended up giving my son detention, which he deserved, quite frankly. He deserved every minute of it. It was up to me, I would have given him more. But I was talked out of it, and I leaned back. Aside from the math issues that we currently have in the entire Newington school district, a couple other modes of import. My son isn't the best reader. I went into this school to ask for help. It took me 6 to 8 weeks for someone to finally agree and say, we'll help your son. Because I was paying for a private tutor, mind you, out of my own pocket, because I didn't think he was being taught properly. The reading specialist looked at me and said, what do you want me to do with him? Gee, I don't know. It's your job. Figure it out. Why do I have to figure it out? I'm helping at home. I'm paying for a tutor. And now I have a specialist saying, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Great. Then I guess he's screwed because you don't know what to do. I should not have to go into a school for 2 straight months and basically hat in hand and beg for help. Beg, please help him, please help him, please help him. That should not happen, ever. The kid is allowed to take retests 3, 4, or 5 times. Can someone explain to me in the real world where you're allowed to take tests in high school or college 5 times until you pass it? It doesn't happen. We're hurting these kids more than we're helping them. We're hurting them. By doing this, we are hurting them. We're hurting the kids that may not be ready for it, and we're hurting the kids that are ready for it. So everybody's hurt. I don't know if it's for why this decision was made, whether it's promotional opportunities, someone looking to make a name for themselves, someone to look to do something. But I can tell you, it has failed. Everywhere it has been, it has failed. And nobody here is going to convince me otherwise. Why wasn't this data added in the PowerPoint presentation? Why wasn't the data that goes against Bowler and Staples put in there? Because you don't want us to know. I just happened to be lucky enough to find it. It was a scam and a lie, and it was done in the overnight where nobody was able to respond to it until now, when the decision's already been made. It's disgusting.
Thank you.
Hi, Jamie Pickin, 148 Winslow Drive. I am appalled and disgusted at what I'm hearing in this room tonight. I am a 24-year math education teacher. I have taught K through 8. I have served as a mathematics coach, as a math interventionist, as a math specialist in East Hartford, and Newington Public Schools. I am a parent of 3 students in this district, 2 in high school, 1 at the middle school. My oldest child took 1A and 1B as a 7th and 8th grader during COVID. And when I said to her, how do you feel about this shift? She said, I wish it took place when I was at John Wallace, because dragging algebra out into 2 years instead of allowing me to just take it as an 8th grader was a waste of time. If I was actually ready to take algebra, then why couldn't I just take it as a 1-year course and get my credit as I would if I was taking it at the high school? I'm concerned because the group of parents who talk about accelerated students, talk about students who have this advanced thinking, they're not losing out on any opportunity. They have the opportunity to take Algebra 1 and get credit as an 8th grader. My daughter took AP Pre-Calc this year. This is the first year Newington offered AP Pre-Calc. That's when I want my child to take an advanced course. When she knows as a 17-year-old, I want to be an engineer. Math is my area of study. I'm wondering when I look around the room, I don't know about you guys, but when I was 11 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to pursue as a career. I thought I was going to be an accountant because my mom was one and my sister was one. My dad was a tool maker. Maybe I'll be a tool maker. I don't know. I was looking at my role models around me because I was 11 years old. We're talking about middle school students. Here's what I need the 65% of parents whose students in 7th and 8th grade are not in accelerated to know. 65% of the parents in this district. Your students did not receive the same opportunities as the accelerated students based on no criteria. And I have to read this part, have to. The reason I feel so passionately about this restructure is because it provides access to any students that are willing to put the time and energy to develop themselves as a mathematics thinker by beginning their high school experience by taking Algebra 1 as an 8th grader. How is that a bad thing? Can someone yield 3 minutes to me, please? Because I would love to continue to talk. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Stephanie Bentley, 58 Centerwood Road.
Okay, this pathway that was created based on teacher opinion of 10-year-olds. There was no criteria to be recommended as 6th grade accelerated. It was simply, you are a kid sitting in my class among, let's just say, 2,300 students, and you shine. So I'm going to recommend you for acceleration. But that one kid in that one classroom out of 25, there's 125 other kids in that grade level that might have the same potential that you just don't teach. So why does your child get to be recommended for 6th grade accelerated, but mine doesn't? It wasn't based on any criteria. It was just one person's opinion or a parent who felt, well, I want my kid on this pathway. So then they went in and advocated for the rights of their child, which I support. I am not against any parents who believe in acceleration. My kid's taking AP pre-calc. She's taking AP Calc as a senior. Removing 7th acceleration would not have prevented her from being in the position she's in right now. That's the point I think everyone is missing, right? We are not stripping kids of any opportunities. We are saying, or here, I have to focus. Let me go back. Here are the questions. I want to challenge all of you to think about these questions. What qualifies a 10 to 11-year-old as accelerated? I would love to know what that means. What does smart enough look like in mathematics? I would like to hear that defined. And I have 24 years of teaching mathematics, but I still don't know how to define what smart enough looks like. Is acceleration developmentally appropriate at the ages of 11 to 13? We are talking about kids who are in adolescence. Most of them haven't even gone through puberty yet. And we're speaking as if they know what careers they want to work in 2030 and beyond. Guess what? Those careers don't even exist. So how can a 12-year-old already know what they want to do in 2030 and beyond? Many people want to hold on to the fact of, procedural fluency. Procedural fluency is one component. And guess what, people? Our children are walking around with calculators in their pockets. We don't need to develop procedural thinkers. We need to develop creative, deep, analytical, programming type thinkers. Okay? Other question. Does a 11 or 13-year-old really know about themselves as learners and thinkers to begin pursuing that pathway in middle school? I don't know.
I'm sorry, you're at your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Joseph John Frito, 185 Tremont Street. I must have missed the Facebook invite because I didn't know all this was going on tonight, but still, I'll start off on a different note, but I do end up at student achievement as well. I've been a student in Newington Public Schools my entire life. After 13 years, I'll be graduating next week, and I move on to college. I've also worked as a private contractor on our building rentals team for the past 3 years, and I estimate that the team I worked on helped generate hundreds of thousands of dollars for this district. I come here today with some thank yous, but I also need to share some observations from my time in Newington. First, I'd like to thank all of my great teachers. You taught me more than I could ever imagine. Our custodians and security team are top-notch and beloved by our students. Dr. Brummett, I see you all the time at our events and whatnot. You support us like no one else, especially within the arts. To Ms. Parati and Ms. Weaver, I see you guys and I hear you guys at these meetings. You contribute more than anyone else, and it really does make a difference. To everyone else, just know that being a bystander does not help. It doesn't do anything. To Mr. Jacomowitz, thank you so much for choosing to retire. Thank you. I appear before you as young, immature, and lacking real-world experience and knowledge. But while this is true, as I entered into my last year of high school, I questioned if the school district really prepared me for the real world. And I wanted to take some observations throughout the year about this. And I realized that the school district failed in many ways to prepare me for the real world through math, science, physical education, all around. I came up with the 3 biggest causes that I I believe are leading to the downfall of America's youth and the decrease in the quality of our education. Technology, societal norms, and bureaucracy. I worry about the lack of knowledge, social skills, problem solving, and human decency that I see among my peers. As far as technology goes, we need to get phones out of the classroom. My peers are addicted, spending more than 10 hours a day on their phones. It's concerning. Our attention spans out the door. They can't read a book. Teachers are left to deal with this, but they say that it's a lost cause, a waste of their energy, and they're deflated. My next cause, societal norms. When I walk around school and I see kids in pajamas and Crocs, what happened to our fine institutions? I'm not saying we need to ban chewing gum, but it's getting ridiculous. My final cause is our top-heavy problem with our administrators. Well, since my time is wrapping up, adios. Perfect. Thank you.
Elsa Batista, 64 Piper Brook.
From top down, not just in this town, but in this country, we have a problem with school administrators. From the year 2000 to 2019, the number of direct administrators increased by 87%, while student enrollment only increased by 7%. How is this possible? New curriculum, new programs, just for them to be thrown out for even more programs just a few years later. We see this in our science department, led by Jenna Spiller, I guess. Our next generation science standards that we follow are a waste of time. We spend hours completing useless activities in middle school and early years of high school, spending hours doing summary tables, thinking about what did we learn here? Well, this is not kindergarten. We're not talking about fairies here, right? And then when we get to the real classes, like AP Chemistry, AP Physics, right? I see my peers, they're not prepared for advanced science classes. They're not prepared with the advanced math skills. Our math department, led by Ms. Kellogg and Ms. Freeman, is the most concerning department I've ever seen. Students lack the support that they need from their teachers. Teachers are cold and rude. The expectations are lower than ever. Over and over again, students are unable to effectively problem solve. This year, I watched a meeting where you guys reviewed the decision. And you said, quote, "There was a clear gap between our students of color and our white students, with the exception of Asian students." Lowering standards, folks, that's what it is. Private schools aren't doing this, right? So next year, I'm going to Villanova University. It's an okay school, right? A lot of my peers are going to be coming from private schools, and I'm going to have to work a lot harder to make sure I'm at the same level. They're more well-read. They've taken more advanced math classes. As far as math goes, I was part of the accelerated program. And for the first 12 years of my life, I thought I was going to be an engineer. But once I took the more advanced math classes, sure, I still got A's, but I realized, you know what? I don't want to be an engineer. I really love history. I built a connection with our history teachers. The department is top-notch. It's the greatest group of educators in our school. Besides some folks who think that they can reinvent the wheel, or their Boston University education makes her superior. Physical education is a joke as well. My assignments on numerous days were to take a nap in class. 50 years ago, this wasn't a problem. Kids were being forced to do push-ups, and maybe we shouldn't be doing that, but still. Our educational standards are continuously being lowered, and that is failure to our students when they enter the real world. A lot of these issues are not local, but you can still take actions. When I go off to college, I will be disadvantaged, and when I go off into the real world, I will also be disadvantaged. For anyone else out there who's struggling, I would suggest you send your kids to a private school. I've had a great time here,
Thank you.
do it. You're a fraud, Lou.
I just want to remind everyone, please be civil. We're not here to be mean to one another. Thank you. Not that you will, Nicole.
You know me, got my number. Hi, my name is Nicole Fenton. I live at 125 Stagecoach Lane. I'm an 11-year resident of the town of Newington and a parent of 2 children in the Newington Public Schools at Ruth Chafee and John Wallace. I'm here tonight to express my disappointment and concern regarding the changes to the accelerated math program at the middle school. To learn more about the changes in the district's rationale, I did attend one of the parent sessions as well as having a follow-up meeting with Michelle Kellogg. To begin, I'm disappointed in the lack of transparency with which the change was rolled out. In the spring of last year, I received a notice through Parent Square that 6th grade accelerated math was being discontinued, which I was okay with. This notice did not say that this was part of a larger change to the accelerated math program or that 7th grade accelerated would also be eliminated. That information was not widely shared with families until spring of this year. The timing, particularly around broader changes, came out late in the year, giving parents little time to react or attempt to influence the decision for those entering 7th grade. The process lacked transparency and it feels intentionally so. While I recognize most parents are not experts in education, we do have parents in the district who are education, people in other districts or in fields that could have brought diverse perspectives to create a new, well-accepted accelerated program for our middle school students. When I met with Michelle for a follow-up conversation, I asked specific questions around the Bridge to Algebra program. I asked, how would the program be administered? Would it be via a program like iExcel? Would it be specific lessons curated and developed by the math department? I was told it was not yet developed and that would be worked on this summer. I asked, what would the structure be for the 12-week program in school? Would there be office hours during school, such as during REACH? Would it be an after-school support? Would it even be 7th grade teachers supporting the students? Again, I was told we don't know, we don't have it figured out. Finally, I asked, how would it be assessed? Is there an exam that the students have to pass? Do they simply have to complete the program? What happens if a student doesn't complete it or fails this program? Are they barred from participating in 8th grade accelerated? Again, no responses. I'm stunned that a change to the curriculum was approved by the Department of Education and this board without these critical details ironed out. I also probed on how this change in curriculum would be measured for success or failure. How and when would we know if pushing accelerated math to 8th grade had a positive impact on our students or if we needed further review? Did the department think these would ultimately increase or decrease the number of students taking accelerated math? Again, I did not receive clear answers. And again, I'm disappointed that a new curriculum was implemented without having clearly articulated metrics for success or failure. Overall, I'm not against revising our accelerated program for middle school. I would support changes such as removing 6th grade accelerated math for some of the reasons mentioned by a math teacher. I do not feel that this new program was thoroughly thought through or vetted or designed before being approved. I'm concerned about the impact that this will have on our district for learners and from a reputation perspective and the impacts to our DIRG. I'm very disappointed in the Newington Public Schools and the Board of Education, and I expect better for our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christine Hedstrom at 31 Deer Path. I had a couple of things prepared, but I think what I want to do is actually address a couple of the things that you had mentioned. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. One of the things that you said was, how can we rely on recommendations of our teachers for an accelerated program? So I have 2 children that go through the district here. One of them is graduating next week. She is an 8th grader who was part of the accelerated program for math starting in 6th grade. And then I have a son who is going to be in 6th grade next year. He's in 5th grade. Both of them, in fact, were outstanding students of the month at one point and were awarded in this very room. So we appreciate that recognition. But I'm really surprised by that question because don't we take SBACs? Don't we take tests that actually score the children that they get prepared for? And I can go down the list of all the accolades that my children get and how they were a president of their class in elementary school, how he's looked at as a leader, et cetera, et cetera. They're athletes, everything good. But why don't we think about the other side of this? What about the children who aren't part of the accelerated program that are going to be mixed in with those who deserve to be? Now, my son, who may not know what he's going to be when he's older, because I didn't know that I was going to be a VP level of marketing at an insurance company now. I was a bio major. However, he comes home and he tells me that when he is in a math class and he's got to partner with somebody, they only have 6 minutes to get something done. Who's doing all the work when he's partnered with someone who doesn't understand the information? He does it. He has to carry it, right? Now, I don't work in education, like I just said, but I'm part of projects that are part of my company, that are part of what I do. When I'm part of a team where someone is not carrying their weight, that makes an impact of the team and everyone as a whole. And I just feel that, someone said it, equality, equity, it's not the same thing. I don't think that I would be in the position that I am right now and the success that I have if I wasn't given the opportunities or pushed or challenged. So I just feel that we don't want to rob that from our children. My daughter had a wonderful experience and she's going into honors classes next year. Wonderful. I'm going to feel a little concerned about my son, who's not going to maybe be able to get through that same pathway. But we'll do whatever we can to make sure that he's challenged. He's not bored. He's not asking for mental health days because he's bored in classes that aren't up to par for what he's at when it comes to his learning. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a reminder for anyone online, you can raise your hand to be recognized. Does anybody else wish to speak?
Hello, everyone. I don't want to talk about the accelerated math. I want to just talk about some other issues which are concerning for me as a parent. So my name is Monica Worsbicki. I live in 116 Stonehenge Drive in Newington. Mother of 3 kids. My oldest daughter is graduating next week. And the reason why I'm here is I was hesitating, but I said to myself, see it, say it. If we don't speak, there will be no change. And I want the whole board just be aware of some issues concerning me as a parent happening in Newington High School. So this is just the list of the complaints put together by the students at the AP statistic class. My daughter, she's a student. We're not talking about the students who are attending AP statistics who are average. Those are the students who wants to be challenged, who are really always good for math. But there are some issues with this class happening second year in a row. And I think this needs to be brought to the bigger attention, just not to get someone in trouble, just try to take some actions, maybe corrections. So just to get the class improved, maybe better communication, simple things, just which make everyone life better. I don't want anyone in this here or at present here go through what we went with my daughter for the last month and a half. I don't want any parents to hear from the child, Mom, I'm holding off, but when I break down, I don't know what happened. That's why I'm here. So this is the complaints put together by the kids. The purpose of these complaints is to respectfully bring attention to ongoing issues within the classroom in hopes of promoting a more effective and supportive learning environment. This feedback is intended not as a personal criticism, but as a constructive effort to encourage change and improve the overall education experience for all students. And those are the list complaints. I don't want to go in more details. I don't have time. Kids, what they complain the most is not entering grades in Power School on time. Put in unit test quizzes right before the parent conference. Students get several warnings from National Honor Society because of that. Second, scolding, embarrassing students in front of the class. Peers, we want to teach our kids the respect to the teachers. I respect really full support for all the teachers for all the work they do. But come on, those are almost adults. You want to have a respect, just show some respect to the students. If you want, say something, say it after, not in front of the students. Humiliating classmate in front of the class for talking to each other when they don't understand the class, turning students away from extra help. During the conferences, parents hear from the teacher, don't worry, they're doing fine, there will be more opportunities. The grades are not in, nothing has changed. Lack of professionalism, teachers on the phone during the class instead of teaching.
Okay, you're at your 3 minutes. Can you just wrap it up?
Okay, so I wish I would have more time, but just want to bring this to the attention. I have a list signed by the students who complain. It was done the same last year, but the issue is going on the same this year. So I have a copy.
Yeah.
Of this. I can give it to you, but I don't want to give you the copy of signed list because the students are scared to talk because it affects.
All right, thank you. All right, last call for public participation. Okay. I do just want to acknowledge everyone who came and spoke tonight about specifically the math, but other issues as well. As is our typical policy, we're not going to respond tonight, but Dr. Brummett will ensure that everyone who spoke will get a response. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that they were heard, and a response will be coming. It just won't be tonight. Again, thank you for coming. Hi, Dr. Brummett, our first announcement.
Yes, it is my pleasure. Oh, wait, I gotta make sure I got my cheat sheet about how to pronounce it. To introduce our new CFO, Lynn Bover. Close, yay! Lynn has, let's look at my notes for, Lynn is a seasoned professional who has held finance positions for many years. Most recently, she was the Director of Finance and Operations in Bristol Public Schools, beginning there in May of 2022. Prior to that, she held the Director of Finance and Operations position in Torrington Schools. She has also worked for East Haven Public Schools as the Business Finance Manager from January of 2017 through July of 2021. Lynn also held the position of Executive Assistant Finance and Operations for the Rock Hill Board of Education from July 2012 through December 2017. And prior to that position with Rocky Hill School, she's worked in various areas of finance and operations. Lynn has been shadowing Lou for about the past several weeks and is ready to officially begin on July 1. Staff have enjoyed getting to know her, and she brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to this position. Lynn has met with everyone on the third floor of Town Hall, as well as Dean Barnes, and she will be touring the schools as soon as possible. But it's important to know that Lynn is a Newington resident, and for many years, and her children have attended our schools. So please join me in welcoming Lynn. Please walk. Your door. Yeah, under the table right here, whatever's easier.
Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you very much, and I look really forward to working with everyone here in Newington and giving back to the community that has given so much to me and my family. Really appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Happy to have you. And just in the interest of time, I'm going to go through all the agenda items and then we can do board comments. Okay, so our next is our CEA Award for Teaching Excellence. So Mrs. Rodriguez. I'll just read this. Mrs. Rodriguez, Jennifer Rodriguez, first grade teacher, Anna Reynolds Elementary School. This is in recognition of your being a compassionate, innovative, and kind teacher and leader, promoting excellence in teaching and service to the profession, resulting in you winning the CEA's highest teaching award, the John McCormick Award for Teaching Excellence. And I just want to say, former Teacher of the Year, always Teacher of the Year to us. And you have taken that and just kind of exploded and advocated, and not exploded in a bad way, but in a good way. Just like kind of been there for all of our students. And I just really appreciate you, and we're so lucky to have you in the district. So thank you. Thank you.
I just want to thank the board of Newington Public Schools for providing me with opportunities to find leadership opportunities, especially Dr. Vizone. His mantra for our building was Reynolds as leaders, and he really found opportunities for every person to find a leadership opportunity that fit best with their skill base. And over time, I walked through any door that was open to me. I might have had to nudge a couple of doors open, but the award is for teaching excellence and advocacy. And the advocacy work, I think, is that other part of it. Advocating for getting the building renovation done at Anna Reynolds so that we had equitable learning spaces, advocating for budget cycles to ensure that we had the funding that we needed for our students. As part of CEA, which is the Connecticut's largest education association or union, we advocate for things like play-based learning. We advocated and spearheaded getting the WEP GPO repealed. So it's all of that advocacy work that I think really had to do with this part of it, and as well as the teaching excellence from the standpoint of having been honored in the past in other ways. So thank you for the opportunities that Newington Public Schools has provided, and CEA has provided as well.
Thanks, Jen. And we have another award. Mrs. Tony. Another CEA award presented to Carla Tony, World Language Teacher in Newington High School, in recognition of your outstanding actions on behalf of students, fellow teachers, the community, or public education, promoting a positive image of teachers or the teaching profession, resulting in you winning the CEA's Above and Beyond the Call of Duty Award. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
I really, to tell you the truth, it was somebody from my department who recognized me, and it was really nice. I guess, I had a lot of things going on this year. I had a student teacher, and I just spent a lot of time giving of myself to my students, and I guess she really recognized that and wanted to show her appreciation to this. And I can't thank you enough for the recognition, and thank you very much to the board for recognizing me.
Thank you so much. I think we'll just skip over Mr. Woods for the time being, and then we'll, or unless you texted him.
I'm texting him right now. I didn't know if you were going to do like board reactions to this.
Yeah, let's do that. We can do that. All right. Who wants to go first? Ms. Weaver.
I'll get the talking started. Jen, you're just an incredible example, not only for this district, I think, but just for what teachers should aspire to. You're constantly doing what's outside those school hours, and what you do in those school hours is always impactful. And just to see the evolution, and truly, there is now a different building. It looks different, and I think you played no small part in that. You were an incredible advocate, and continue to be. So thank you for continuing to stay engaged. And it's just, I knew it was evident when I had your son as a camp counselor X amount of years ago, but it's one of those things that leading by example. So more than well deserving. I think we could make up a couple more awards for everybody. You should get them. And Ms. Tony, I just want to say congratulations as well. Little known fact, my sister was best friends with your student teacher. And I know we hired her
and she has like that dual Italian one. And let's just say my sister was very jealous of her placement. She was not in Newington School's placement, but her student teacher did the UConn TCPCG, very intense program. The best and the brightest of our next generation. And I heard very good things every month as my sister was like, it's not as good where I'm at, but oh, if only. She's like, I don't even teach world language. I would love to be with Miss Tony. So I know firsthand and from just anecdotally that you were just an incredible teacher already, and from friends we've all had under your tutelage in the world language department. But just knowing your impact was heard all year at my house, and thank you so much for what you do all the time. I love like these award names as well. I will say I did read just Call of Duty, and I thought it was like a video game thing. So I'm glad to hear you really were beyond the Call of Duty as well. So congratulations to you both absolutely stellar examples of educators, not only for Newington, but the state and the country and the world. Ms. Petras.
I'll be very, very brief. Just congratulations to both Ms. Rodriguez and Ms. Tony. Thank you for everything that you do. We know it's not easy. But what I'm struck by is your advocacy and how both of you are strongly involved in mentoring, but pushing the profession forward, welcoming new people and working hard to make sure that we're bringing the people in who have the strengths, the same strong commitment to our students and to making sure that we're educating our kids, all of our kids, in the best way possible. And the very, very important advocacy work that the CEA does for not just people in our district, but for people statewide cannot be understated. So thank you so much.
Okay, congratulations to both of you. We're so proud. Next, I would like to call Mr. Stephen Woods to the table. We'll keep clapping. So Steve is the chairperson of our Anna Reynolds Building Committee and the John Wallace Building Committee. So he's just here to provide an update on both projects.
Thank you.
Just turn your mic on for us, please.
Through a back entry.
Oh.
For my whole damage.
Building schools.
Okay, turn it on. Before I start, I know that Mr. Giacomowitz is in the process of retiring. I've worked with Lou since 1994 when I got elected to the Board of Education. I've had a fantastic relationship with him when I served on the board for the 16 years. I had a different relationship with him when I was mayor of this town for 4 years, but a professional relationship. We did not always agree, but we respected each other's decision and we found common ground. Lou has taken care of the board for 30 years plus, and he's done an excellent job. He spends every dollar of this board's money like it's his own, and I've seen that day in and day out. He is always protective of your funds. He is a champion for this town, for the Board of Education, for the children. He is going to be missed like everybody. We're all replaceable, and I understand that, although I think you're going to have a hard time replacing this particular individual. It is, and again, I hope he does hang around for a while because we've got another project we're just starting. So I am here to talk about Anna Reynolds. Good news, we have reached the end of the project. The commissioning hopefully will be done by the end of the week. There is a little bit more. I think you're waiting on a few more parts, as probably most of you know. I know Lou knows. I know Jason Blum knows. We've had some issues. Air conditioning and heating have been our vein of we just can't, well, we, the contractors, can't seem to get it fine-tuned. They're very close right now. That's the last thing holding it up. So we're closing out the project. That will take several months. Lou has been an integral part of that. He is preparing all of the payment apps that go into the state for that to make sure that the town is reimbursed. They hold 5% until the project is closed out. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about tonight is the things that we were able to do that were originally value engineered out. And I know I've sat with a lot of you on this board. I see some very familiar faces on my committee, or our committee. And it's been a pleasure serving with everybody. The committee's been in place for 4 years. I've lost track of how many people have come on and off because it's been a lot. But we did a really good job of managing funds early on in the project. And I was here, I believe, reporting on it when we got to what we call Wing B, which is one of the classroom wings. We found that the slab underneath the classroom was not in good shape. And we were looking, honestly, at millions of dollars to take out all that concrete, re-pour it, a setback of 6, 8, 9 months. Our construction team came up with a plan. We were able to implement that. That $1 million, $2 million, $1.5 million, $2 million went down to under $250,000. And it's an amazing system. It's kind of like a floating concrete floor on top of what's there. So as far as anybody knows, you have brand new concrete. Looks like brand new concrete. That was one of our biggest hurdles. And so not having to spend that money of our contingency and some very frugal work from our construction manager. Newfield Construction has done a fantastic job for us. We were able to put back that beautiful canopy that is now in the front of the building. And just to give you an idea, that canopy roughly is about $250,000 with design fees that was added back to the project. We were able to add $130,000 to put in the creative playground in the courtyard, which again was cut out from the project. We were able to resurface, by that I mean coating, on the existing basketball court, which really was outside of the project, but it was obvious that while we didn't do anything to it, it had gotten neglected for 3 years and wasn't in great shape. So we were able to fund the recoating of that through the site contractor's contract. So you don't actually see that in anything. Kind of got buried in there, but we were able to buy new basketball hoops and backboards for the court. I'm only going to hit the big things. Silence roll, which is security. We were able to fund another $40,000 in security. Most of that is some in the building, but most of that through the courtyard. Let's see here. Furniture, equipment, so computers, ViewSonic displays. We're able to purchase roughly $55,000 in additional computers and screens for you. Another $67,000 actually in ViewSonic screens. Some painting color changes because we didn't realize how blah that the building started being until we saw it. And I didn't pick the colors, but I think, sometimes when you see these color charts, and I know I've been married for a long time, my wife goes, picks this color and loves this color, and we paint it, and she goes, that's not what I picked. And I hold the little chip up there, and it matches perfectly. Yeah, we got to change it. So we were able to fund that. That was another $20,000. Well, this one you didn't request. I actually worked with Parks and Rec. It actually isn't done yet, but it will be done this summer. The little league field, softball field that is there on your grounds has been in horrible shape for years. The one just to the north is actually still in decent shape and in play. This one, they're going to put an entirely new infield system, refinish the grass, add some irrigation to it, and that was $80,000. And I think one of the coolest things that we did is we actually purchased you a lawnmower for your courtyard that is robotic. So there will be a lawnmower that's stationed in the courtyard. It sits in a little charging hub, and it sits there all day long. And at night, it comes out and it mows. And then when it's all done mowing, it goes back to its little charging station until it's programmed to go back out again. I actually saw it work. It's really cool. We don't have it yet, but it's on order. And we should have it soon. We spent another $30,000 on security lighting. Mr. Wetzel, who's been a member of the committee since its inception, was adamant about this. And so now there is exterior lighting around the entire building. We had it in the front of the building, parking lot side, but we really didn't have anything around the back, and we were able to do that for you. Let's see what else. And then there's some additional courtyard work that Lou is actually going to do this summer. Most of it is security, I believe, Lou. And so we're going to add Lou is going to add another egress in and out of the media center. Added some sidewalks. Actually, I think we're changing the sidewalks from bituminous to concrete. They're there now, so it'll be a little bit easier to traverse on. And that sums up what we're able to do. So the total is approximately $800,000 is that we were able to get back into the project. And there's still actually some money left over that will go back to the town. Because like all things, everything is not reimbursable, and in case we miss something, there'll be money. Well, they'll probably spend this money, but at least we give them back some money that they have. It's a difficult project as any renovate as new project is in an occupied building. That is a challenge. But again, Lou and his staff, it was remarkable in responding to all of the needs from the construction team. Everything that they could do to help us to be more efficient, they were there. We talk 6-7 days a week. There's, we use Saturdays, Sundays, holidays. If you need to talk, we talk. But the overall, I've not heard any complaints other than, too hot, too cold. We get that. You usually get that for the first 18 months. Hopefully we don't have that in John Wallace, because those are a little bit different. It's all rooftop units. You actually have a lot more headspace at John Wallace than you do at Anna Reynolds. We had a lot of challenges at Anna Reynolds. If you remember, we were in EF wing. We were cutting the slab to add plumbing because all of the classrooms have sinks in them. So everything, the entire building is all supposed to be slab on grade. So they're cutting through the concrete, and they cut a piece of concrete, and all of a sudden that concrete falls down through a 4-foot hole. Well, the second half would be the east side of that wing. Nobody knew there's a crawl space underneath it. So for 63 years, 65 years, there's been a hidden crawl space that I've talked to everybody in the town. I talked to the contractors that worked there. There was no access to it. So again, a small challenge, but a challenge that we didn't expect. But I would gladly answer any questions if you have any. Again, I think it was a good project. I would like to tell you that we could have done it faster, but we can't being occupied. That really slows down the process. But I think you have a very good-looking school, one that is now equal to the rest of the ones. And I guess you only have Patterson's the only one that hasn't been touched, right? Your old school, Steve. I still got a few more good years in me, so. But again, I enjoy being privileged to be able to do this for the board. The board's been in love most of my life. I spent a lot of years sitting at this table, and I appreciate what you all do. I know it's not easy. You make very difficult decisions, but somehow you always make it work, and most of it's because of the money man over there. And at the end, far end of the table, Dr. Brummett makes the final decision. I worked with Dr. Perlini, Dr. Collins, and now Dr. Brummett. All three are excellent superintendents, and this district is far ahead, I think, of most in the state. And you walk in our schools and you can see it. You see it on the kids' faces. You can see it in the environment that's in that school. People care. And that's rare. I work all over the state. I'm in buildings that are brand new. They don't look anywhere near as good as the buildings that we have that are 50 and 60 years old. So that tells me something. And again, I'm proud. I was born here. I was raised here. I went through each one of those schools. Again, I hope I have a few more years left in me. So happy to take any questions if you do have any. If not,
Go ahead. I just want to say thank you. You've done a great service to the town and served it for a long time in the best way. And I feel like every project I hear, we're on time, but we're under budget. And I'm like, how the heck does this happen every time? How are we so lucky? And I think there's some magic to that sauce. So thank you continually for your efforts. Thank you to those on the building committees and our custodians that keep them. We always hear, if you can't they have the reflection of us in them. And that's true. Every time I see the floors, I can see myself in them, whether I like to or not.
that's not normal if you go through the state. Trust me, it is not normal. It's just the opposite.
Well, thank you.
Jessica.
Thank you for your time. And I know you've literally zoomed in from meetings in Florida and wherever to talk about these things. So I know it's a lot of time and effort. So I thank you so much for all of that service.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Halloran.
I just want to echo what Ms. Weaver said. Thank you, Steve, for your service. I'm on the committee. It's a pleasure. I'm always amazed at how efficiently those committee meetings are run, and I think that's all due to you. And I think that I am very excited to see shovels dig into the dirt at John Wallace very soon. And thank you for all the work that it's taken to get to this point.
Now, John Wallace will start very, very soon.
Yep.
Actually, school is out the 17th?
17th,
Yeah, so there'll be dust by the 20th or 21st. This rain will go away and it'll get hot and dry. But thank you, Sean.
Is there anything else about John Wallace that you wanted to just pretty quick turnaround, right?
I will share this with you. We're off to a better start than we were at Anna Reynolds. We are under budget, not by a lot, but nonetheless, we are under budget. So that is a great thing. There was no value engineering that had to be done. It is a much smaller project. We're at 28,000 square feet versus 63,000 square feet. I believe we will have the project done in probably 18 months. That's my goal. We're using Newfield Construction again. I know all those people. And again, we talk on a regular basis on the phone. We're set to go. We don't see anything that is glaring. I mean, it's a pretty simple project. We're leaving 2 sidewalls, 2 end walls, and a roof. Everything else goes. And, just giving you a center corridor with classrooms off to either side. So it should be a very basic project, and keep my fingers crossed that it goes as well as it does. But I think it's going to go well. I really do. And hopefully we'll have some extra money, and Lou and I keep them around a little bit longer. We'll find some ways to spend some of that money to improve the building even more for the students.
I remember when the Anna Reynolds bids came in way higher than expected, right? So there was some really tough decisions that had to be made there. And I think it's great that there were so many, the list is longer than what you said, but there was so many things that we were able to put back into the project to really there's stuff in the media center to make it more engaging and welcoming, right? That we added, and the canopy was a big one that, just no protection from the elements at all. So I think that was a really good one too, that we're able to get back, but it looks great. And I'm super excited. My daughter's going there next year for pre-K. So I'm very excited.
Actually, I think
that
we
she's
ended up
gonna...
with a better canopy as a redesign than we did the original canopy. I like the way this one looks.
It looks really nice. Yeah. So the whole school is great. And thank you for all the time. Our meetings were Brittany, 15 minutes max every 2 weeks, but the amount of work that you personally put in and everyone on the team, Lou and everyone, everyone in central office had a part in it as well, with everything from will the buses fit to security and custodial, everything that goes on in a school, where they were all consulted, and then obviously our partners with Newfield and CSG, right?
Yes.
It was just great, you all worked well together, and architects as well. So the meetings were very fast and efficient, and a lot to you
And again, I was
and the
very
team.
fortunate. The committee allowed me the authority to make some of these decisions. They gave that to me, which kept everything running a little bit smoother. Because it doesn't sound like much, but if you think, at one point, there was over 100 men and women working on that job on a daily basis. So if you stop production, it backs up very quickly. And my goal is to make sure we didn't do that. So the committee entrusted me. I was able to make the decisions to make sure that we could keep moving. And that's what made it work. That's just the crux of it.
Yeah, and then can't forget to mention Jason Smith, who had 2 full-time jobs for a very long period of time, being obviously principal and then, construction guru. I don't know what he was doing. He was consultant, the main guy to answer all the questions and then organize all of the, because it was done occupied during a school year, and all those little tiny kids had to make sure that they're safe and able to learn. It might have been a little loud but my daughter was there during construction and she was fine. It was fine. But now it's beautiful. So
Good. I'm glad that you're happy.
So yeah, absolutely.
And I want to thank Steve as well. This is Lynn Boisvert, our new business manager. And I already told her, I said, you're going to like work with Steve. He knows how to run a meeting. That he knows how to, and it's already been said around the table, but in all seriousness, getting us through Anna Reynolds and now chairing up Wallace, we've been very fortunate to have you. Your name's going to be on a plaque in every school at this point, but thank you.
It is actually. There hasn't a school project I think that I haven't been on in 30 years.
That makes sense to me, and we've been very fortunate to have your services and wanted to have you meet Lynn, so she'll be working with you as well.
This town has been very good to me, so I'm just paying it forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
I'm good. I can go.
You're
All right.
dismissed.
Have a great night.
Thank you. All right, and sorry for the delay, Mr. Duran, but you're up next.
Come on over, Mr. Duran. When we talked earlier today, I said, Mr. Duran, we might have a late start to your presentation due to some anticipated public participation, but
I learned my lesson earlier in the year.
But I'll turn it over to Mr. Duran. He's here to share with us the work of his Parent Equity Committee, and I believe there may be one parent online, but I'll let you introduce the team. Mr. Duran, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having us here today to talk about our parent equity team. I'd first like to introduce some of the members who are here with us. I have Betsy Ruiz, who's one of our parents of a 3rd grade student. We have Kate Dwyer, who's also a parent of a 3rd grade student. I should have Miss Titus on the line, who's parent of 2 3rd grade students. And I have her, she's going to be calling in. Her number is 680.
I'm on the line.
Yes, it does end in 92. So she'll be joining us. And then some of my staff came in. And we have Brenda DeWill, we have Amy Inzero, and we have Antoinette Serrano, who I thank very much for coming and staying for an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. And I thank you two both and Mrs. Titus, who's online, for sticking it out for this time. But let's get to the work that we've been doing. As a first-year principal, walking into E Green, I got a feel for what the building had, and I wanted to see where we can move next to. When I started looking, I'm a big data person. I was a math teacher. I'm always looking at that, and I started looking at where were we underperforming in some of the areas that I noticed where our academics, our attendance, and our discipline data. And when I looked at that data, the underperformance was, there was a gap between our white students and our students of color. And the gap was getting wider. And so I started thinking, what can we do to address this? Because the gap in our reading, it starts out and it just continued to get wider as the years go on. And I looked back in history. It's happened every year. It's just something that takes place. I see that students of color are over-referred for behaviors, for the similar behaviors that our white students are going through. And then I looked at our attendance data, and with attendance, a higher number of our students who hit that truancy level are students of color. So I was thinking, what could we do about that? And the first thing I did was work with my staff and the students. You know, I formed committees within the building where we would talk about those different aspects and what we could do, talked with the students and got some advisory. You know, even though they're elementary, the upper level, fourth graders and third graders do have a lot of good ideas on what could we do to help make sure that they were coming into school and make the place a safer place so that discipline wasn't a problem. And what could we do to make the classes more engaging so that they would be able to perform better. And when I looked at that, it was great to be able to talk to the students and staff every single day. But the one thing I was missing was my parents. And, you know, I have the kids 6 hours a day. They have them for the rest of the time. They have them for the summers, and they get a different perspective of what our schools go through. So I thought it was important. Let's bring the parents in and see what they have to say. So I met with my CELT team, my school equity leadership team, and I talked to the staff, you know, who are some parents that really could make a difference. And I got a list of 10 parents. I invited them, and 5 took me up on the offer. And these 2 have done an outstanding job, and they're going to share some of their thoughts in a little bit. But we come together every 6 weeks or so. We just started the committee. It started a little bit around November. And we've had some good discussions of where the school is, where we want it to go, what our hopes and dreams are for our kids, what are the roadblocks and barriers that our kids are going through. And it's not only when we talk about equity, we're not sitting here just talking about our Black population or Hispanic population. We're talking about our white population too. It's all kids. We want to make sure that all kids are successful in our building. And the perspectives that I've received from the parents have really helped us as a team, that we've brought it back to the rest of our school, and we bring it up in different meetings, in our staff meetings, and we talk about what was said, and we share it in the hallways, because it's important to see the work that we do in the classroom and how it translates to when the student gets home and is talking with their parents. And you know, it's been a great experience. I think we've really bonded as a team. As the year has gone on, I've had more staff members ask to join the team. I've had more parents call up and want to join the team. I'm losing 2 parents to Kellogg next year, who I've already hooked up with Jason Lambert. They're going to be joining his equity team. And then I already have parents who are asking to come in next year. So it's a point for us to get the voices of our parents into the building. And it's been an outstanding experience. I mean, we've had some great in-depth conversations about what our hopes and dreams are for our kids in the Newington Public Schools. Mrs. Titus, who's going to talk in a minute, lives in Hartford. Her 2 daughters attend our school through the Open Choice program. So we get her perspective of what she sees compared to where she lives in Hartford and sending her kids to Newington. So just outstanding work. And I look forward to, in the future, where we're going to go next. Because when I look at the kids in front of us, they all come from different backgrounds. They have different experiences. And as one of the parents said earlier, the difference between equity and equality, we want to help every single student, but equality, we're just giving everybody the same. Some of our kids with different backgrounds need a little bit more. And that's our job to figure that out and help them to really be able to grow and be as successful as possible. So I'm grateful for my team here who are going to help me do that. And they're going to work with me, and we're going to work with the rest of my staff to help make E-Green a better place for all our students. So what I wanted to do is, I didn't have a presentation for you because after an hour and 45 minutes, I don't think it would have been something you would be interested in looking at. So what I've done is I've written a couple questions for each of my parents, and then they're gonna share their thoughts on it. So I'm gonna start with Ms. Dwyer. Why did you want to be a part of this team, and what are you looking to accomplish as a member of the team?
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. I know it's been a very long day. I know you all have day jobs, and I'm sure, you know, I just appreciate your service to our community and to our amazing public school system. And I'm really happy to be here. So as I mentioned, I'm Kate Dwyer. My daughter is a 3rd grade student at E-Green. My son is now in 5th grade, but he also went through E-Green. And I was really excited for the opportunity to be a part of the school social equity team. I feel like we are really blessed and very fortunate to be parents whose children attend eGreen. And not only the caliber of the education they're receiving, but the school community in and of itself is something that really is a treasure. We had the school picnic last week, and it was a great opportunity to just see the student body as a whole because they have a great attendance. And there was a diversity of languages being spoken, and there was a diversity of parents with different nationalities that all came together to create this beautiful community of kids who just really enjoy each other's company, treat each other with respect. And it's something that we see in this microcosm at eGreen that is something that we really want to see on a much bigger scale. I feel like the undercurrents that we're hearing on a national level and at a community level are tinged with anger and fear. There's a lot of anger and there's a lot of fear out there, especially for our children of color. And I realize that I'm white, my husband is white, my children are white, and the experience that they have moving through the school system and through the community at large is different from children who perhaps have a parent that is not from this country, who perhaps for English is not their first language. And I want it to be reinforced not only to my children, but to all of the children in this community, that it does not matter where you're from, it does not matter what language you speak home, you are all important, you all deserve respect, and you all deserve the equity, again, the equity, not the equality, the equity, having your needs met wherever you are, that we meet you at where you're at, and we help you to thrive. And so the opportunity to be a part of this community and a part of this council seemed like a way to do that. And I can't tell you how wonderful and how fulfilling and heartwarming the conversations have been, and very vulnerable conversations for the members of our community. It's been a very turbulent past 8 months, I think, for everyone, and it's been really nice to have these meetings. They've been kind of a harbor to come together and refocus on what is best for our children. How can we still instill in all of them the importance to care for one another, to love one another, to respect one another. And so that's what this community is, this meeting and this group is doing, and I'm very happy to be a part of it.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
And as she was alluding to with our picnic, my student body population is 54% students of color. So that was another driving factor when I came to eGreen, that when I saw that number, that there was something that was built up in me that I had to address, and that we have to be working for all our kids, but especially that large group of students who are now the majority of my population. So now I have Ms. Ruiz. And why is the parent equity team important to you?
So good evening, everyone. I'll try to be quick. I had notes, but then I got wrapped up into all the other stuff. So I'm going to go off the cuff. But I think Elizabeth Green does an excellent job with her children, educating them, teaching them. I know I was walking my dog the other, like during the winter, my daughter was like, oh, look at the Diwali candles are up. I had no clue. So she educated me as we were walking by, but that let me know that my daughter is learning something. This is my third kid in Newington schools. My son, by the time he got to 8th grade, he elected not to continue going to school in Newington for some reasons that, like the equity and the equality, he didn't feel was there. So he decided, unfortunately and fortunately, to go to Xavier because it cost me money. That's why I say unfortunately, but did well there. More of a quiet kid. My daughter too is very quiet. We talk about that too, as far as equity, is that she recently was diagnosed ASD level 1. So to me, it's a hidden disability. If you don't know she has that, it may come off a different way. Add the layer that she's a female, add the layer that she is of color as well. So she has a few things against her. But what the school does is an excellent job is teaching her and empowering her. However, it'd be nice to get to know some of the parents. So that's where it was important for me to participate in this, because it was the first time that it was opened up where the parents can get involved and have those conversations that may be uncomfortable. For the kids can't really be that open to their third graders. They're 8 and 9 years old. But maybe if we talk to the parents and let them know, like, hey, Nyla struggles with this, or this is what, and I don't represent all Latinos in the world, but letting them know that some things, like, this is what we do in our family. I can't speak for what happens there. I know we had one parent who stated that she was fearful of speaking Spanish in public. And I have to say that there's sometimes that I have the same fear of, what are you going to think that I am? Do I have to carry ID? My kids look more of color, they're more of melanin than I am. So they're not going to, what their appearance is, they look more African American than they do Latino. And I am honestly grateful for that because I don't have that fear. But then there's the other layer of I have to worry about my son who's 6'4", and what comes with that, and being out late and those types of things. But having these conversations at least lets other people know that some of the fears that might show up as our interaction as parents, not even as the children, as parents, that might trickle down to our kids, and some of their little phobias that unknowingly we might overshare with the kids sometimes, especially some of the fear. We don't do news in my house anymore. We just do like streaming, Netflix, that type of stuff, because I don't want, you already have enough stuff going on. So we kind of just keep it very light, and we talk about certain things, and a lot of the stuff that comes up at school, we discuss at home. There was a leadership program that my daughter absolutely loved. And being able to get involved in that and getting correspondence about how she was doing there, doing her vision boards, and having those conversations, then bringing them back to our group as to what's working, what's not working, and having conversations not only from Latinos or Black people, but hearing a white person's perspective on things too, or I just didn't know, or wow, I never realized that, or even for myself, the stereotypes and assumptions that I've made, and having those honest conversations, that was the important piece for me to participate in this group. So when the opportunity arose, I jumped right on it. And last year, Mr. Mariano was there, and I know that they were doing something for Hispanic heritage. So I volunteered. I was like, if I'm going to ask for there to be change, I'm going to volunteer. So I did a quick little training for, I think it was like 40, I took a 4-hour training that I'm a retired state employee. So I took a 4-hour training and try to condense it to 45 minutes just to, I know that the census has a big climb in Latino population in Newington. So just letting them know, like, I don't represent everyone. I only speak about my experiences as a woman of color, but to share that with the school as to this might be happening with the parents. So it might trickle down to the kids. So you might see these behaviors with the children, but know that it's coming from the parents. So now that this kind of jumped on this year, I thought it was an excellent thing that Mr. Duran is spearheading, and it's working. You can tell, like, there's more friendliness in the community when you see a parent. My son was in school. It was more of the coaches knew my son, but I was kind of invisible. So they were like, hey, buddy, how's it going? I'm like, hey, I'm the one who pays for everything, so you might want to acknowledge me. But now it's kind of like, hey, mom, how are you doing? The exchange is a little bit friendlier and more open to more inclusion than it was before.
Thank you very
You're
much. And then my final parent is Miss Titus, who's online. So I don't know if we can pull her up.
Or she's unmuted,
So go ahead and.
All right, here's your question, Miss Titus. How might participating in the parent equity team impact the education of your children?
So as Mr. Duran.
Hold on 1 second. And can you turn up the volume? All right, try again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Perfect.
Okay, so as Mr. Duran said, my daughters attend Elizabeth Green through the Choice program. And first of all, I have to say that we hit the gold mine when they were accepted into Elizabeth Green. They've been going to Elizabeth Green since kindergarten. One of my daughters is in special education. And I think the operative word to the equity and being able to participate in this group is the partnership, being able to partner with the school, with the teachers, and I'm learning, they're learning, and it's important to have that, and I'm grateful for this group because of that. Because it's not only teaching my kids, it's also teaching me. It's teaching me about different cultures. It's teaching me about different things. It's helping me to partner with their teachers to make them work harder, to make them do more. And I enjoy that.
Thank you very much. And so that's our group, and we have a lot of work to do because we want to make sure that every one of our kids is successful. I look forward to next year and the new members who will be joining and the work that we're going to do and what we can strive to really push our kids for. The three parents who have spoken tonight. It's my last year with them next year, so I got to get a lot of work out of them. I'm looking forward to it, and we'll bring in, and I know through the work with them that it'll build up more interest because we just get more people who just want to be a part of seeing change for all students, and that's what we're looking for.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions to our presenters? Ms. Beatrice?
I just want to thank you, and I can't tell you how proud this makes me. I am a past E-Green parent, but more importantly, I am a member of your neighborhood. I live around the corner from E-Green and still consider myself a little bit part of the family, but a little bit removed from the family as well. My kids are in their 20s. So, but I can't tell you how proud I am to see this conversation taking place in that school. I'm more importantly, very, very proud of my neighborhood and my neighbors, which you guys are, because what we're doing is we're creating a family of learners who are going to be good global citizens, and they're going to be good neighbors. And when I hear you talking about the types of things that occur outside of the school and the lessons that are being discussed and the difficult conversations that are taking place are having positive impact in our neighborhoods, and I'm your neighbor, and that impacts me. So thank you very, very, very much for the hard work that you're doing.
Ms. Weaver?
I was so excited. Oh my God. I just want to scream and yell from excitement. So I'm the student of E-Green a long time ago, and E-Green didn't look like that when I went. But now my cousins are there, and the things I hear from them and the things that they're learning, it's always so great. And I'm so biased. I always say this whenever I always get put on the E-Green PTO, PTA meetings. I don't know why. I think there's bias. Brenda knows, Amy knows. And they're always on, by the way. But just to see the buy-in and the participation. So thank you so much for volunteering your time, for going above and beyond as parents. I think one of the things we always want to have, usually tonight is a rarity. We never have this much participation at Board of Ed meetings or anything like that, but we want to hear from folks. We want to hear the reach out. We want to know that there's buy-in and that, that there is that willingness to find that community. And I really appreciate both of your, and online, I appreciate all of your words, because I think it's one of the things too, where we at board level don't make those day-to-day decisions. We're high up here. We're making, the budget and other things, but we want to know, the NPS mission really embodies that. And we want to make sure that you're feeling that and we're seeing that trickle down. So thank you so much for what you do. And also, I'm just really excited to hear, I want to ask Mr. Wren for more reports and things like that, because you need more work. But it's just so great to hear that and to hear the experiences of your children too. And to know that, it is a good experience and that you're able to. And I think one of the things I just hear is that we're kind of creating this lifelong learning of both our students and our parents and our teachers, because we talk about educating our educators too. So to hear that, I think we all are proponents of the never stop learning. So to hear that and to see that on full display is just really, really gratifying. And I will say, as biased as I am, it's one of those things that has a special heart of just seeing, where you grew up, where you still are, to see the evolution and the progress that's being made. And that is probably due to the fact that I went to E-Green, and probably due to that woman right there, my second grade teacher, who's now our teacher of the year, Miss Hatton, now Miss Serrano. Oh my gosh. I just have to give a shout out because she is our teacher of the year. And we did have shirts that and I also just want to shout out Mr. and the Lizzie swag as well. That's going on. Because we just had I think a little blue lizard on one of our t-shirts at our school picnic. I'm going to have to give you a photo I have of that, way back when, but it really is a special place. And so to hear 20 years on what is happening, and to hear that progress, I think that's what every school district and every kid would want to leave it better than when you left it, and to continue to see that is just incredible. So thank you guys, and thank you for staying so long. We appreciate your time and your efforts, and you missing dinner as well.
Mr. Halloran?
Thank you. I think tonight, as long as it was, it's really important to hear from parents. I'm a parent of 2 students in the system as well. And the child's life is at school is not insulated from the child's life at home, and the child's life at home is not insulated from the child's life at school. I think whenever you can have involvement, and whenever you have a direct voice, whenever you build a sense of community, you start to reckon with the fact that it is a holistic approach to doing the best we can for our children, to provide them a well-rounded education, and to expose them to different types of families and different types of cultures. And I think that I can't thank enough, particularly you and I forget her name on the phone as well. It is so vitally important that we make the effort to play a role in our schools. We are not here making decrees. We are representing our town. And the more we hear, the more informed we can be, the easier it is for us to do our job on behalf of the town. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Congrats on finishing almost your first year of principal. Yeah. You waited all year. All right, we'll see you next year. Bye. Thank you. Okay, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Brummett for our Anna Reynolds plaque.
Thank you so much. Thank you, E. Green.
Thank you.
So, as I think has already been stated this evening, tonight will be Lou's last board meeting, and many of you attended the retirement event. I think that was last week. It's been a long couple of weeks, but at that time we did honor Lou with this prestigious pile of rocks that he had asked for to honor his participation in the Anna Reynolds project, both the most recent one that Mr. Wood spoke about, but also the previous projects, including the erection of the playground that you see depicted there. So while the box of rocks was a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek honor from last week, I would like to propose to the board, in honor of Lou's 32 years of service and some of the reasons that you heard tonight from Mr. Woods and others about his dedication to our district, all that he has done for many of our facilities, what he has done, district-wide. This is just quite a bit at Anna Reynolds, which I think this is a fitting, hopefully, suggestion that in addition to the pile of rocks, that we honor Lou with a plaque affixed to the playground at Anna Reynolds. This is one that he actually did help renovate and create, however many years ago that was. And I think that would be in addition to what we've already talked about. So, and Lou, full disclosure, I probably need your help getting the plaque, picking out one that's weather resistant, because I'm not very good at that. But, all kidding. And I roasted Lou pretty good last week and made fun of his spreadsheets and other, things. But, in all seriousness, he has served this district with distinction and dedication for 32 plus years. And I think it's my suggestion that we also honor him with this plaque that is to be designed and researched by Lou.
One more project.
We'll call it maybe your final project, but I would, again, the board is aware that when we look to name anything, they simply need to be aware of it. I can tell you that we will, whatever is chosen will be appropriate to the conditions, something that will be safe on a child's playground, affixed in a very safe location. But, with your agreement or blessing, I'd like to move forward with that in support and in honor of Lou. Dakamotes.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. Definitely not the only project that you've had a part in, because I think you've had a hand in everywhere in this whole system, our school system. So this cute little playground, though, is very nostalgic for me. I love it. So I think it's a perfect spot, and better than a pile of rocks. Pile of rocks might be a little unsafe for a playground, but could be fun. Who knows? But yeah, go ahead, Miss Weaver.
just make sure it doesn't say memorial. I've had a lot of retirements and it was a note.
In recognition of
Memorial for
lots
his
of
years of service.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my one request here. Yeah, and I will just say too, thank you, Lou, for everything. It's been great, and I want to say that I know Mr. Woods was saying like he counts every dollar and stuff, and I will say I've never seen someone order at Stop and Shop a specific number of ham slices to the T, which I saw happen, and he was like, I need 7 exact slices, and I was like, wow. A man who counts his deli meat this specifically and with this much detail must have a keen eye for a lot of diligence things in the financial space. So I was like, wow, I think that's really emblematic of Lou. So just wanted to share that. I know how meticulous you are, even down to your deli meat.
Any other comments? Ms. Carr.
Lou, do you like the location?
I think it's great.
Okay.
Wonderful project when we did it. You know, we had it through a combination of resources from the Anne Reynolds PTA. Jamie was part of, and what the board was able to subsidize for the other 40% of the work. And it looks great, but one of the reasons I was joking about the Anna Reynolds area is because on 5 different projects over the years, we've had to be in there either doing blasting, just blowing up rocks, or with the big jackhammers mounted on trucks to be able to clear space and make it suitable for the type of things that we wanted to get done. And that was one of them that we had to do, where we had to carve into the side of the hill there, which is all rock underneath. You know, you get 1 inch of sand, 1 inch of soil, and miles and miles of rock underneath it. And, you know, they came out great. You know, all the projects really, provided the type of, just a great place for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was an improvement over the prior one we had done. So I'm very proud of my little contributions over the years to do that.
Great, so it's the perfect spot.
Thank you. Lou, thank you for over 30 years of service. I think both here and the John Wallace Building Committee, you've really steered us well into how to be financially responsible and finding ways to make things work when it seems like it can't. So sincerely, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll run into each other at some point around town, maybe when we're both getting ham. Does it have to be a plaque? Can we not just make the whole surface of the playground like a spreadsheet?
Add some math in there.
Backdrop of it.
Oh, right. Just a slide that goes into some statistics. But thank you very much, Lou. I appreciate it.
You're quite welcome.
Mr. Sharma.
So I think, this is a great idea, but I just want to thank Lou for, 32 years of service. It won't be the same without you in the meetings, and especially the patience that you've shown, like explaining all the different financial stuff during meetings, and then, it's just amazing. So thank you for everything you've done, and we'll always miss you.
Thank you.
Mr. Newton.
Lou, I did 25 with the state. I don't know how you did 32 with the town. I'll miss your knowledge, not your voodoo with your math. You counting people, Lynn, you're in for a ride. But your service is an honor, appreciated. You've been here, you're loyal, your loyalty's shown through. You've done a service to the town and to your family. So for that, I thank you.
Thank you much.
Ms. Petras.
Again, thank you. I am always struck how you can take complex thoughts, and budgeting is not easy, and making it in a way that is easy for this first termer to understand. And that's one of the most important things, is for us to do the job that we need to do. We need to understand it. And so I thank you so much for presenting things in a way that makes sense, and that really instill confidence in that the everything that we need to be having done is done in a thoughtful and appropriate manner. And it's a very difficult thing to do. I know it's not easy. I know it's long hours away from your family, but you have made it a pleasure to dig deep into some things that sometimes aren't so easy to do. So thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
Just waiting to see if Ms. Yap wanted to.
I have one
Oh,
question.
yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Berman, what did you set the budget at for the plaque?
TBD, Mr. Giacomo. Well, we had yeah, 7 slices of ham. I think with our research,
My wife is
research-
the one who likes that one.
oh, that's your wife, huh? We'll certainly be very cost efficient in the selection of this plaque.
We know you'll do an excellent job picking out a suitable plaque that will withstand and last in 32 plus years, probably longer than the playscape. But yeah, thank you, since we're doing this now. Thank you so much for all the dedication that you've spent putting your time into Newington Public Schools. I think you've been around a really long time and seen a lot of stuff and had a lot of community interactions. And I think you've handled all of it with grace and dignity and just been above board. So I applaud you for all of that and all of your meticulous budgeting. And I just remember my first term, we had like a list of transfers and one of the board members asked what they were because, you know, she just wanted to have details. And you literally went down the list by memory and you said, this is for this and that's for that. And you were just able to account for all of it. So the amount of numbers and budget items and reasons behind the budget items that you have in your head, like you just know what everything is for and you know what everything costs. And I think you're just that meticulous and it really has served us well in the last 32 years plus. So we are definitely going to miss you and all of your knowledge, but thank you for taking time also to train Lynn. And I know it's hard to do within a month time span, but we know where to find you. So obviously, you probably will never be able to fully get away from us, but thank you for all your service. We really appreciate you.
So welcome. Thank you.
All right, so it sounds like the board is in consensus that a plaque at the little playground at Anna Reynolds is a fabulous, not memorial, but a dedication opportunity. Okay, that was a long A, B, and C. And now we're moving on to our consent agenda.
Thank you. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented for the Board of Education meeting on May 28th, 2025.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. What are we at? 8-0. Okay, new business. We have a possible board meeting schedule revision.
Yes, thank you so much. In the course of training my new secretary, Sally, we realized that next year is an election year, and therefore the board meeting schedule varies a bit because we have to take into account the organizational meeting of the board due to the election year. So what is now proposed, and that's in this memo here highlighted in yellow, that in election years, the November meeting is scheduled on the first Tuesday following the election, and that is for the board organizational meeting where chair, vice chair, and secretary are selected. And then typically it's followed by the swearing in on the town side, which we did confirm is the case. So that is the modification suggested here. We would remove November 12th and add November 11th. The board would also, upon the election determination, we would determine with the chair about a board orientation meeting from legal counsel and set the date for that once the board is officially seated after the election. And that could occur in late November, though that's tricky because of the holiday, or perhaps before the December board meeting. So that is the rationale behind this adjustment. It just has to do with the variation due to the election year. So I'll turn it back over to the board chair.
Thank you, Ms. Weaver.
Move the Board of Education approve the following revised meeting dates for the 2025-2026 school year. September 10th, 2025, September 24th, 2025, October 15th, 2025, October 29th, 2025, November 11th, 2025, December 10th, 2025, January 14th, 2026, January 28th, 2026, February 11th, 2026, February 25th, 2026, March 11th, 2026, March 25th, 2026, April 8th, 2026, April 22nd, 2026, May 6th, 2026, May 27th, 2026, June 10th, 2026.
Was that a second?
Second.
Thanks, Brittany. All right, so we're voting, or was there any discussion on the meeting date changes? No? Okay. Do we have to do a roll call vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 8-0. Oh, man, okay. So next is the lunch price increase proposal. Is Dana still on?
I believe she
Yes,
probably
I'm
is.
here.
Hi. Hi, Dana. Thanks for sticking with us.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So we're not slacking
can I
off
share
on this
the
last
screen?
board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, we got it.
Can you see the screen, Dana?
She's
Oh.
sharing.
Yes.
Okay, then I will cue off. But anyway, I just want to cue up Dana that she has analyzed our finances relative to our lunch program, which I'll let her do a little more explanation of, and is come to the realization after consulting with Lou that a price increase is warranted, but I'll let her speak to that. And it looks like she's got the screen, so I'll turn it over to you, Dana.
Thank you. I first would like to just start off by saying I've worked with Lou for close to 22 years, and I've never seen him eat a ham sandwich. And my office is right next door to him. Okay, so tonight I will present to the board 3 different lunch price proposals and how each could affect the food services operations. Since asking for money is never fun, I thought I would open and close my presentation with funny food jokes. And by the way, I did not come up with them, so here we go. Why are herbs so expensive? Because time is money.
Forever.
This slide represents lunch price increases over the past 21 years. Prices have increased 5 times with an average cost of 30 cents per increase. The last price increase of 25 cents at both the high school and the elementary schools, and 50 cents for middle schools was 2 years ago. The middle school price was set higher to align with the high school pricing and lunch offerings. When looking at revenue sources, lunch participation determines federal, state reimbursement, and lunch sales. I've highlighted the difference in participation when meals were free for all and when students returned to paying. No surprise that paid participation is much higher when meals are free. When meals were universal free, the program received additional funding as the reimbursement rate for paid meals was based upon the federal reimbursement for free meals. This rate is much higher than Newington's paid lunch pricing. The additional funding during this time increased the program's cash reserves. Key points. Additional funding ended June 30th, 2023. We currently are serving 534 less paid lunches per day, and over a course of the year, that equals about 92,000 less lunches compared to when meals were free for all. So less lunches, less federal and state funding is less revenue. Section 205 of the Healthy Hunger Free Act of 2010, Equity in School Lunch Pricing provision, we're required to close the gap between what we charge full paid students for lunch plus the paid reimbursement rate and the reimbursement rate for free meals. Newington's gap is 79 cents at the middle and high school and $1.29 at the elementary schools. Reimbursement from free meals subsidizes full paid students. We are anticipating the free reimbursement rate to increase 18 cents, which will increase the gap if paid lunch prices remain the same. Connecticut legislative updates. The general session ended on June 4th. The governor has until the end of the month to sign the budget. Unfortunately, free meals will no longer be provided to reduce paid students next school year. Although federal funding for local foods for schools will be eliminated next year, there is funding in the state budget to continue working with local farmers. How will these updates impact Newington? We all know that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Newington will continue to offer free breakfast for reduced students. This is a service that was provided pre-pandemic. We most likely will see an increase in reduced price students charging lunches. We will make sure that parents are informed that free meals are no longer available to reduced paid students. Actually, free lunches instead of meals. Dr. Brummett has made it clear that no child will be denied a meal, nor will a child be offered an alternate meal. We will continue to work with local farmers and menu local items. Last month, we partnered with Sub Edge Farm in Farmington. We menued bok choy with garlic and ginger, a kale and quinoa salad, and mixed green salads with different toppings and school-made vinaigrette dressing. We have pre-ordered lettuce, potatoes, butternut squash, kale, more bok choy for next school year. I've also reached out to other farmers to see what products will be available in the fall. Newington will be celebrating Connecticut Grown for Connecticut Kids Week the first week in October, and we will be menuing local items. This slide represents the high school paid lunch prices for schools in our DIRG and how Newington compares. Schools are ranked highest to lowest. Newington is at the bottom of the list and below the DRG average. I also highlighted the free reimbursement rate, which is currently $4.43. New Milford and Wethersfield are community eligibility provision districts and do not charge for meals. I will go into how CEP works a little later in the presentation. So this slide compares the middle school pricing. Newington's middle school pricing is listed slightly higher on the list compared to the high school pricing, but still well below the averages. This is most likely because our middle school and high school pricing is the same due to similar menu selections and serving sizes. This slide compares elementary school pricing. Newington is at the bottom of the list, and just like the high school, middle school pricing, our elementary pricing is below the average. Our neighbors in Rocky Hill are increasing their lunch prices 10 cents at all schools next year. I reached out to Berlin and they have not determined it yet. And Wethersfield is CEP, so all students are receiving free meals there. Although we can look at pricing amongst districts in our DIRG and see how Newington rates, it is really difficult to compare programs based upon pricing. It is like comparing apples to oranges. Pricing does not always tell the story about operational costs, salaries, benefits, and how much the Board of Ed may subsidize and other sources of revenue. For example, districts with lower meal prices may generate more a la carte sales than Newington, which helps to subsidize pricing. On our next slide, I'm going to go into more detail on CEP. Yesterday, I received a crash course on CEP schools from Lynn, who has worked in many CEP districts. So thank you, Lynn. CEP refers to community eligibility provision, where all students participating receive free meals. Sites can include the entire school district, some of the schools, or individual schools. ISP is calculated by the number of directly certified as free students divided by the school's enrollment. Directly certified as free includes students with SNAP and Medicaid benefits, students who are homeless. This does not include those students who are approved as free through the paper application process. Sites qualify based upon their ISP or it's known as the identified student percentage. Students are ineligible if less than 15%. They may be eligible if the group ISP is at 25%. Sites with ISPs of 25% are eligible, but not all meals are reimbursed at the free rate, which is important, and I will show you in a little bit. ISPs that are 62.5% or higher receive the free reimbursement rates for all meals. So what are Newington's ISPs? This chart lists the schools in order from highest to lowest. E-Green, Reynolds, Kellogg, they're at the highest. They're at the top of the list, while Chafee, Wallace, and the Transition Academy are at the bottom. To calculate the percentage of meals that will be reimbursed at the free rate and the paid rate, the USDA came up with the CEP slider tool, and the link is included at the bottom of this website. The link, to calculate the ISP, you take your ISP and you multiply it by 1.6 to determine the free rate. Paid is determined by subtracting the free percentage from 100%. Newington's sponsored total, so that's the average of all the 8 sites, is 27.25%, which is at 25%, but well below the 62.5% required to receive the free reimbursement rate for all meals, including paid meals. So Lynn helped me for this presentation by taking the data for May's reimbursement claim and comparing total monthly receipts with paid lunch and total monthly receipts if we were a CEP district. If Newington were a CEP district, there would be a loss of over $48,000 in just that month. The deficit is due to the loss in revenue from full paid students not paying and only receiving the free reimbursement rate of 45.79% of total meals. The program would be paying for paid students to receive free meals, and there's just not enough reimbursement dollars to cover operating expenses. It is strongly recommended that Newington not change to a CEP district. So I know this is kind of heavy stuff. Are there any specific questions on CEP before I move on to the 3 lunch proposals?
So just to clarify, you used Wethersfield as an example. So Wethersfield has a higher number of students or percentage of students that automatically qualify for SNAP benefits, and that's why they're
I don't know
eligible
what Wethersfield's numbers are. That could be, or perhaps they have excess funding that's covering the lack of paid funding.
Okay.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they're using excess revenue so that all students can get free meals. So I don't know which is the reason why.
Okay.
But I'm just kind of basing it on Newington.
Yeah, so Newington would lose $48,000 a month if we did that.
And that's just 1 month.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a higher month, but it's still just 1 month.
Okay. Are there any other questions on this? Oh, okay. You can continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with operational expenses increasing yearly and with no lunch price, it is anticipated that the program will lose $150,000. When looking at the 3 different pricing proposals that I put together, 50 cents, 35 cents, and 25 cents, it is anticipated that a 10-cent increase will generate about $18,000 in revenue. And that is based upon the number of paid lunches that we serve. Reduced pricing is capped at 40 cents, so we can't get any additional funding from reduced students. And I'm not quite sure that we would want to either. So when I was putting this together, I kind of thought it was noteworthy to point out that making a small menu change with one of the most popular menu items that we have. It's the homestyle chicken pizzas, which we do serve daily. And if we were to add an additional chicken piece, it would cost about an additional $21,000 for just adding one more piece of chicken. So looking at the 50-cent lunch price proposal. So again, we would be anticipating $150,000 loss with no price increase. Having a 50-cent price increase would generate about $90,000 in revenue. And the program should be able to cover the deficit with cash reserves. The program would continue to be self-supporting, which means we're able to cover our operating expenses because we're not part of the board budget. We most likely would not require a lunch price 2 years in a row, and we'd be able to maintain and expand menu selections. So I have some pictures on this slide that I just kind of want to point out to you. This year we did offer teriyaki salmon and a cracker crusted cod at our middle school and high school. We also offer a teriyaki chicken and broccoli over rice. We started this year introducing more plant-based products. So with the pasta, that's actually a plant-based crumble. And we have a plant-based chicken patty. We also are working on a cold noodle salad recipe, which includes veggies and avocado. Students can select either between chicken or chickpeas for their protein for next year. We also offer a wide selection of fresh fruit, which includes grapes, watermelon, oranges, strawberries, honeydew, and fresh veggies daily. We offer a side salad, which you can see in the picture. We also have raw veggies with dip that include cauliflower, green beans, carrots, cucumbers, and baby peppers. And the next few slides are just going to show you some of our current menu items. You'd be looking at a 35-cent lunch price proposal. With an anticipated, again, the $150,000 loss with no price increase, a 35-cent price increase could generate $63,000 in revenue. But there may not be enough excess funding to cover changes if there were to be federal reimbursement rate changes, or if we needed to replace or add equipment, or if there were unforeseen additional expenses. The program may not be self-supporting, but most likely able to maintain our current menu selections. We may need an additional lunch price increase in 26-27. And looking at a 25-cent lunch price increase proposal, again, the same anticipated loss. We could generate about $45,000 in revenue. Excess funding would be depleted. The program most likely would not be self-supporting, and we would need to possibly decrease current menu selections and need an additional price increase in 26-27. This chart lists the proposed new paid pricing with the 50, 35, and 25-cent increases, and whether or not it is anticipated if the program will remain self-supporting or not. It's my job to advocate for foods and nutrition services, so it's my recommendation to increase lunch prices by 50 cents in order to maintain and expand current offerings, as well as avoiding raising lunch prices 2 years in a row, and most importantly, to be financially solvent. I understand that the board, you know your constituents better, and I know that you'll have a difficult decision to make. Although I listed the high school and middle school separately, we probably should think of them both at the high school level as they share menu selections. Before I answer any questions, I'm going to end with a joke, and I think it's funnier than the first one. The joke is, why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the price of ketchup.
Thanks, Dana.
You're welcome. So again, I'm just going to leave you with the slide with the different, I guess, price proposals. And are there any questions for me?
Yeah, Miss Yap.
Hi, how are you? Thank you, Dana, for your presentation. My question is, what strategies have we implemented in Newington to reduce food waste, which can lower overall costs?
I can only speak for my department, and we have a couple of different strategies in place for that. We're required to have production records that we fill out. So we do keep track of what we go through on a daily basis. And when the menu item is on again, we look back so that we have a pretty good handle on what our numbers are. But as far as maybe waste outside in the cafeteria, I'm not aware of.
Is there any way you can provide the board some data in regards to that? Because we do know eliminating food waste would cost us, save us a significant amount of money, in addition to increasing more vegetarian options. So I'd like some data on that prior to me making this decision. Thank you.
Just to clarify, you're looking for data on the menu items that they're
No, I'm
directly-
asking for data. I want to know the strategies we're using to reduce food waste and how much food we're actually wasting and how much is costing us in food waste. So if I'm buying this much food, but this much is getting thrown in the garbage, how much are we actually wasting? That matters. If you figure out how much is being wasted, you can figure out how to save money. It's like when you grocery shop in your own house, right? I'm not going to keep buying things that are getting thrown away. I'm going to figure out, what's not being thrown away, what's being eaten, and how we can save money.
Yeah, that last example is exactly what Dana had just mentioned, is that they are looking at how well certain items do and then not making as much or making more if it runs out. So she's looking at that.
So
Dana,
I
is
think
there anything
before
else?
we increase prices, we should look at that. That's a huge factor in raising money. Why would you raise the cost of, there's a lot of single parents. I was one previously myself, and I'm not just going to pay more because the data hasn't been found yet. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like I'm not going to go to the grocery store and just spend extra, but I don't know what's going on. You kind of have to figure out the problem before you just add an extra dollar to it.
And I guess I would say I don't believe or agree that waste is what's driving our food costs. Anytime you go to the grocery store, you see that the prices have gone up. We're not immune to that.
I understand that, but waste does drive food cost up everywhere in the world. That's not just specific to Newington. That's specific to our households. That's specific to our country. We are a very wasteful country. If you look at statistics, there are other countries that don't waste as much as we do. Also, as I stated, including more vegetarian options would save us a lot more money. Increasing local food sourcing would, I know we do use some of our local farms, but increasing it more would save us money. So we have to look at these things overall. We spend money on some things, but health is wealth. I know myself, I've lost a significant amount of weight, and I know that my own food cost has went down when I start really sitting down and looking at that. And I think it's fair to provide the board accurate data before asking. I don't know, and Brumit, please explain this to me, when this decision has to be made, if it has to be today, but I'd like the data. I'd like to know, how much are we wasting? How much are we
I can provide
spending?
you production records. Other than that, I don't know what long-term study you're.
Anything is better than nothing, and then ask for an increase. Absolutely. Thank you.
Sorry there. And then I guess, and I think point well taken. I guess, Dana, could you just, I guess in your expert opinion, would calculating perhaps food waste, or how much, I guess, maybe the question would be like meals that aren't getting eaten, I think is maybe the concern I'm hearing. Would that
cover the deficit of $150,000, or would it be more de minimis?
Well, in order to claim a reimbursable meal, students have to have a certain number of items on their lunch tray. So they have to have at least 3 different items, and one of them has to be a fruit or vegetable. And those are federal requirements. So I suppose when you're looking at the trash, a lot of students take either a fruit or vegetable and they're throwing that out. But again, we have to offer 5 different components, and students have to take at least 3 of them, with one being a fruit or vegetable on their tray.
Sorry. And so just to be clear, like, I guess that wouldn't necessarily change. The costs are upfront costs. We are not necessarily able to recoup those costs if, you can't control every student's, I guess, behavior on what they eat and don't eat based on their choices that they're making at the counter. We would still, I guess, if perhaps the request was made and data was provided, would that change your recommendation or change the deficit?
Not at all. I think we do a pretty good job of limiting food waste.
Thank you. Mr. Sharma?
Hi, Dana. Just a quick question.
Hi.
Can you just talk about the wholesale prices? I know, like, have they, maybe the last 3 years, how much have they gone up?
I'm sorry, what pricing?
The wholesale prices on the food you buy?
Well, each year we do go out to bid on our grocery, and this year we were spending about 4 to 5% more in food costs.
Ms. Yap? Oh, I'm sorry. Please hold. Mr. Newton had his hand raised first.
Dana, I kind of have a grasp of what you're asking, but I also understand where Anastasia's coming from. We're not throwing away $150,000 in food every year, correct?
No. So let me clarify that. That is just with all of increases in our operational expenses. So that would include salaries and benefits, which are contractual, and food costs do go up.
Okay, and my other question is, that's basically a 15% ask at 50 cents. That's
Right,
hard for
and-
me to swallow, but I understand where it's coming from. But it's 15%. Our parents are going to be scratching the chalkboard.
Right. And I think I understand where the board is coming from in that it's a difficult decision. But, if I were asked, best case scenario, what would keep us, self-supporting, that would be that 50-cent mark. But again, your constituents better, and the decision really lies in your hands as far as if you will be approving a lunch price increase and what that amount would be.
Ms. Beatrice?
Just a quick question. Is the program experiencing any significant issues with families that are in arrears or are unable to pay their lunch tabs?
The last time I checked, we were about $5,600 in unpaid charges. So it kind of fluctuates between, it can go as high as like 6,000 down to maybe like 4,000. We do see an increase the month of December, and we kind of also see an increase this time of year as well.
Okay, but it's not a significant dent in that 150,000.
No, because we're not allowed to carry that debt.
Oh, okay. Thank
Because
you.
we receive federal dollars. So at the end of the year, we are required to zero out all negative balances. And then we then put the dollar amounts that owes in the students' Power School accounts.
Okay,
And then
thank
it
you.
gets transferred kind of to the schools to try and recoup that money.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Yap?
Hi, Dana. Another question. Have we ever, since we work with farms, you said we work with some local farms. Is that correct? I just want to make sure you said that and I wasn't
Yes,
misquoting you.
we worked with Sub Edge Farm out of Farmington, and we
Yep, I
also
know that
have
farm.
a pre-purchase contract for the fall.
So my question is, have we, and this is just something I'm going to throw out there, thought of including more vegetarian options? Meat is very expensive, as you know. I mean, most people, you don't have to eat meat every single day, but I know there are certain areas in the country, and I've lived in many, where they have meatless Mondays. They have more vegetarian options. They have more salad bars. So therefore that, lowers their school, it doesn't force the school to increase lunch prices. I'm just looking at what other states and other areas are doing in regards to this, to not put this burden on parents in a town like Newington, which isn't like built of tons of apartments. Most people like own their house here, so we pay taxes. I'm one of them. We are incurring these costs. If you eliminate the amount of meat, you don't have to eat meat every single day. Like, you just don't have to. I mean, trying like a meatless Monday or just anything, health is wealth. That would lower food costs, especially if we're using local farms like you're stating we are.
We have incorporated plant-based items. This past year, we actually created a specific gluten-free menu that is available across the district. We do have order forms for the students at the high school and middle school that they can order a Google form. And we were looking into adding a vegetarian menu choice for students.
So if you made, I'm just going to throw out a hypothetical. It doesn't have to be exactly what I say. Let's say we did a meatless Monday. How much money would we save?
I would have to compare. I could take, for example, what the costs are when we do pasta. So whether it is with meatballs or if it is with
no meat,
beef crumble and sauce compared to a plant-based crumble.
Yeah, is there any way we can get that data? Because I know other school districts are doing that and they're saving a significant amount. Now, let me be clear, because I heard Jessica Weaver say, would we save 150? No, we wouldn't save 150. But if I could save 40 or 50 or anything and take less costs off the parents, I'm willing to do that because I'm a parent. My son goes to E-Green. So, let's take the costs off of them. But I mean, we should look at other options and not just DERG across the state. There are schools in where that and they're saving a ton of money, and I think that we should explore other options and not make the only option to put the cost on the parents. Now, I did recognize what you said: no child goes hungry, no child gets an alternative menu, which I think is amazing for Dr. Brummett to do that, because it's the right thing to do. But again, this is a town full of mostly homeowners, not apartments. This isn't a city. We are a town, thankfully. So I think that we should explore other options, maybe meatless, and see how much that saves us, and see if we can have less costs put on the parents. Thank you.
But what I will say is we receive government commodities where we can divert funds to specific companies. So we do divert money to Tyson, where we do get chicken meatballs. Right now, there is no diversion in place for any plant-based items.
You said
So
Tyson?
again, we do get, I'm sorry?
You said Tyson?
Yes, we use Tyson products.
But Tyson meat is full of preservatives and fillers. I'm talking about real food. Tyson meat is not healthy. That's at all. You can read it. That's
we
not.
use whole muscle meat, but I also will add that I'm not going to dispute that the gold standard would be scratch cooking. But just because something isn't made from scratch does not mean that it's not good for you.
Well, let's just look health wise as far as this Tyson meat, which is full of antibiotics. It says it on the package is good for you, but I don't want to get into that. My goal and my point is to save the parents money and our constituents and our taxpayers that voted us in, and to see if we can come up with any alternatives besides just throw it on the parents. That is my goal.
Right. My concern just is that if we're not able to cover costs, I mean, is that something that the responsibility is then put on the board, which you're then using tax dollars to fund that?
Well, it's tax dollars anyways, because as a homeowner myself, whether I pay it to you or you take it another way, it's still my money. You understand?
I'm gonna let someone else ask a question. Thank you. Ms. Carr?
Thank you. A few comments. Dana, how long will a new item be created, presented, and evaluated to see if it is being, you know, chosen by students before you then take it off the menu?
It really depends upon the item and the feedback that we get from students. I mean, we do recognize that you do have to offer items that students are typically exposed to several times. And then also, if we're looking at, fresh fruits and vegetables, we can work with farmers and they can come in and help us with taste testing to kind of expose them to the products before
Thank
then,
you.
incorporating it on the lunch menu.
Great. And the other thing was, so I agree with what Tim was saying, where 50 cents is a hard pill to swallow, considering that's a 15% increase. Now, I know it's been 2 years since we had an increase, and if the average cost of food has gone up 4 to 5%, we'll take the high, 5%, that's a 10% increase. And I just did the math, that would mean a 33% increase. So that's bringing us right in the middle there, something to consider.
Yeah, and I also think 50 cents is a lot. And Dana did provide other options to the board tonight so that we can see all of the options. So the 50% is recommended, but it doesn't mean that that's what we have to go with. Dana, can you just explain a little bit about your reserves? Like, just explain why that's important and what would happen. And I guess for Dr. Brummett too, or Lou, what would happen if by any reason you had no more money, like, and a piece of equipment broke down or whatever. Can you just explain a little bit what that's for?
Yes, because we're a nonprofit organization, we really can have 3 months worth of operating expenses in the bank. But because of all the additional funding we received during COVID, our reserve was much higher than it typically was in the past. So over the past, couple of years, when students went back to being charged for lunch, that surplus helped with all the increased costs as a result of the pandemic. So that money is not as we don't have as much money as we used to. So the concern just becomes if we go below that 3 months operating balance, it just puts a strain on the program if there are any unforeseen issues. And if we weren't able to cover expenses, we would then not be, self-supporting, and, where would that revenue, come from?
Thank you. And then for the second part, if you did run out of money, essentially, because like you said, COVID, where kids were not paying for meals, helped to build up that balance. And now we didn't have to increase prices last year, but if you do run out of money, if we choose not to increase prices this year or do 25%, where clearly it says the program is not self-supporting, it would be on the board to make up the difference. So where the school lunch program currently is not in our operating budget, we would have to then use the board's budget to fund whatever happened. So I don't know, Dr. Brummett, if you wanted to just say that better.
No, I'm nodding my head in agreement that, the chart here does show Dana's projections at when the lunch program or the meal program would become not self-supporting, and that's at that 25-cent increase. So that wouldn't be at all recommended. So I think what I'm hearing is the board's looking at potentially the middle ground there of 35 cents, where self-supporting is a possibility. There may be a need to raise prices again in a subsequent year, but if the board is looking to try to find something that might be more palatable to our families, that is maybe a possibility to consider. But you've already very aptly stated that, the best optimal recommendation would be the 50 cents.
Ms. Weaver?
Yeah, I think I saw the 50 cents and I was like, oh, Dr. Brummett, can we talk? And then I had said to Dana, I was like, is there a middle ground we can get? And then knowing kind of like, I at first thought 25 cents, knowing that's not a self-supporting one. And Dana, I just want to thank you for the very informative ones. I don't know if other towns have food directors food services directors that go through this detail. So just thank you for taking the time to explain that. But I just want to note too, my concern would be there's no like line item in our budget because we're not this is a self-sufficient program, right? So my concern would be too, if, I think there is, of course, we're in a good year. So, if we needed to cover things, we probably could with our operating budget. Although I do worry what that precedent sets then as we budget years on years on years. And then that slowly turns into, oh, we did it this once. Then it becomes a line item. Then it becomes something else that we need in our budget. So I want to be cognizant of that as well and understanding the balance. And I think, Mr. Newton, maybe, and I said this many times, we don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul, right? Like this is 100% where we recognize where we went over Chromebook fees, athletic fees. We were like, we don't want to keep transferring the burden onto our parents, obviously. So I just wanted to note too that, I think, and just put kind of where I think my thoughts are and stuff, but just noting too, I guess, if in the event the board could cover it this year, but say it's a bad year for us too, and the food services, everything breaks down. I don't know. We get hit with another pandemic and also, I don't know, something happens. Everything always happens that can go wrong. So I just want to make sure too that we wouldn't set that precedent then too. I don't know if that would necessarily be like an MOU or something like that. But I think, I don't know if there's really an option to do nothing and have them be that in the black. But I also don't want it to be that, we're relying more and more heavily on the operating budget to the point where it becomes an unsustainable budgeting practice. So I think maybe supportive of a 35 cent in the middle might be good, and recognizing too that, and I told this to Dana before, I was like, if we have to come back to the table next year too, that's, a conversation we're going to have. And I don't want it to be seen as passing the buck too. So I recognize this is like the most unfun part of being on a board. So I just wanted to recognize too, I don't think any of us are wanting to pass this wealth on and more cost burden onto parents, recognizing that it's already a difficult time and we're in an affordability crisis.
Mr. Sharma?
Right, so I just got a quick question. So if we go with the 35 cents, right? And maybe this question is for Lou. We are still in the hole, right? So where does that money come from? Because we're in the hole.
Might be in the hole.
150,000.
Right now, Dana does have cash reserves available to her on her balance sheet for the program. The magnitude of the deficit that can be absorbed in any one year is going to where it becomes dangerous. I'll keep the illustration real simple. Let's say Dana's operation has expenses of $100,000 a month. So the way the federal and state guidelines are for how to manage their financial resources, she can carry a reserve of $300,000. That has to fund the cash flow variation. So like in the summertime, they're always doing their buys for the government commodities. They're stocking all of the freezers and, paper goods through the bulk buy systems to get the best available prices. So there's a lot of times a very big drain early in the fiscal year to outlay money to get the operation ready for the year. If you're in a position where you have no cash reserve, everything becomes a problem. You can't buy, you're looking to the board to basically be in a position where they have to pick up the deficit immediately. Because the way, the regulations are written, Dana can't run a deficit operation. So if you can't get your revenues from the clients, it has to go back to the board for funding to pick up the difference. And that could be a big surprise, difficult to manage around over the course of the year. So if we can, Dana's capable of floating with, a little bit of utilization of the reserve to carry operations. Every year it's different. You have a different mix of students who have different tastes and preferences, and the family's acceptance and the participation rate is up. If there's years where the participation rate is not quite as good as other years, Dana's numbers would suffer a little bit and her revenue wouldn't be as strong as it could be. Dana's always experimenting with trying to find better more interesting things that will attract across the entire student population that's here. So it's not just a one size fits all type of menu that's put out there. So she does a very good job from that fashion to try to meet the needs of giving some ethnic flavor to different offerings and being cognizant of what different kids might like to see at some point in the rotation of meals that are there. So I wish I could say it's a perfect formula. You can just crank the numbers into a computer and it'll spit out a perfect menu for you. It is there's much art as there is science to the nutritional meal planning that Dana has to do, and balancing that with all of the cost considerations that are involved in doing it. As far as just addressing the concerns about the waste factor, in everybody's own mind, you really have to look at it as two aspects. When an item is put on a plate given to a student, that's out of the waste factor. If the kid doesn't touch it, puts it in the garbage can, that's really not a waste item from the planning and operations of the kitchen. With especially the refrigerated products we have, the milks, juices, the cold plates that are out there, most of that is 100% reusable on the second day. You're only really looking at potential waste that's in the main offering, the hot offering, that may not, stand up to a reheating and be appealing to the people. And that is a very low percentage of what's here. With the history of how many meals Dana typically serves, they have a good idea of the count of meals that need to be produced. I don't really see a lot of opportunity for trying to tighten that up on, trying to eliminate waste, because it'll cost you more to get rid of it than you actually are going to gain by the benefit of just what no longer is suitable as a first run product for the serving line. So those are just my personal observations on it. But in seeing and working with Dana all these years, these continuity and the discipline of the organization are really good, and they do a very good job of maintaining a good balance of trying to keep the families in as cost-effective of a environment as possible, as well as meeting all of the federal requirements. Just looking from the charts, when you're 30, 40, 50 cents below the average of everybody else that's there, and you're in the, three from the bottom on the list, that's challenging, especially when you have a federal reimbursement over $4 and you're not even charging $3. So those are some of the realities that are here. Trying to thread the needle on maintaining and sustaining that balance is something Dana is very good at, and we're very lucky to have her as our cafeteria director. So I'll add that.
Thanks, Lou. That was very sweet.
So in summary, like if the board passes a 35-cent increase, it's possible that we are still going to be in the hole and she might need money, right? So
A bit, right. There's a better probability of that happening.
That's what I'm
Not
saying.
necessarily so, but
Right.
you won't have a free fall of,
Right.
it becomes way out of control, or, very, that there's no way out. But you really want to avoid the spot where you're looking at 50 cents, 75 cents, and you have no good options available to you as a board as far as how to fund that. So this kind of tries to, maintain the stability as well as giving the best possible benefit to the community.
All right. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you for your perspective. Ms. Yap?
Hi, thank you, Lou. So I just want to start where I'm not going to be using words like dangerous or, we're going to be in a hole. We obviously know no child's ever starved in Newington, so we want to put that out there, and we care about our constituents. One of the things I was thinking about in regards to this is Lou had stated that, she currently has a reserve. So that's good. Obviously, we're spending, being fiscally responsible. But you had mentioned, and please correct me, that we're, partnering with 2 farms. Is that what you said, Dana? 2 local farms, Dana?
Right now, it's just Sub Edge, and I've reached out to, I think it's Carabin in Southington, because we're looking to purchase some products from them. And there's another farmer, I just don't remember the name.
Yep, that's fine. So one of the ways to reduce spending, since we don't want to, nickel and dime what's getting thrown in the garbage, which I could see how that could be a little difficult to do, is there are various programs available to the school systems, which I see other school systems are using. There's the Farm to School Grant Program, F2S, I'm sure you're aware of, the Local Food for Schools Cooperative Agreement Program, LFS. There's a National School Lunch Program. There's a No Kid Hungry grant, and there are other grant programs that the USDA Food and Nutritional Service offers, and the U.S. Department of Education also offer. So because we have so many grant programs available, I don't think that we have to worry about your $300,000 that you have left, depleting that quickly. I'm pretty sure in our town in Newington, we care about our children. I know I do, including my own. So we would ensure that. I think that right now with inflation and everything going up and all the different craziness going on, that we should at least, consider the parents. As I said, we're not a town, we're not a city. So you have to, I don't know, we all live here, most of us, but we are not a city. So we don't get as much as other people. So we have to look at the fact that when you say, oh, it'll be on the taxpayer, either way, it's on the taxpayer. Whether I have to give my child physical money or it comes, out another way, it's still on the homeowner. This is a home owning town. This is not a town of tons of apartments. Yes, we're building them. Let me finish, please. Hold on. I want to finish. Please don't cut me off. So my point is, uninterrupted, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different grant programs if you were to run out of money. But if you were to apply to them knowing you'll need the money, then there's a possibility that we would get the money so we wouldn't have to put this on the taxpayers. That's my point, Amy. So if you're telling me that we've applied to all these and instead of partnering with 2 or 3 farms, partnered with more farms, you would save money. The Farm to School Grant Program gives you more grant money if you partner with more local farms. We have a farm in our town called Eddy Farm. I go there all the time. Why aren't we partnering with them? They're right in our town. So that's things that we should be looking at. And that would help the taxpayers because those people live here. And that's how you help our constituents. Thank you.
I will like to just add that part of our commodity dollars goes into DOD, which we get produce from. We use commodity dollars to purchase produce.
But we need more farms. That if we partnered with 4 more farms, do you think you'd save money? Because there's grant programs for if you partner with more farms, you actually get more grant money.
My experience just working with some of these farmers, it is very difficult for them to get us the quantity of food that we need. And just working around the schedule is not as easy as one would think.
I understand. I've worked federal before, so it's not something I'm not privy to.
Okay.
She's responding. I'm talking. It's rude. You didn't interrupt anyone else. So we're all elected on the same thing. So, reaching out to USDA Food and Nutrition Service. I'm not sure if you're aware of them or don't have contacts, but like I said, I'm always willing to help. And that would help you build that better rapport with local farmers and get the things that you need. Thank you.
Ms. Weaver.
I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to move that the Board of Education increase school lunch prices by 35 cents for all schools for the 2025-2026 school year.
Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Newton. Is there any discussion before we call the question? Ms. Weaver?
Yeah, just want to know, I think this is a fair balance. I think all of us are concerned about taxpayer dollars and making sure that we're not burdening parents. And I am a renter, so I just want to put that out there as well. But these are great meal options, and I just want to thank Dana again for that presentation and her jokes. I think it's far and beyond what we used to offer a couple years ago. Thank you.
Deb, would you please call the roll?
Mary Beatrice.
Yes.
Yes.
Scott Howard.
Yes.
Timothy Newton.
Yes.
Karati.
Yes.
Sam Sarma.
Yes.
Jessica Weaver.
Yes.
Anastasia Yap.
No.
Motion passes 7-1.
Thank you. Dana, I just want to thank you again for the time that you spent putting this presentation together. And I know that all you do cannot be limited to a 5-slide presentation. I know you go above and beyond, and I know that you take your job very seriously and try to get the best cost for the district as possible. So while raising lunch prices is never ideal, I know that the students are getting a healthy lunch, and that is super important for them to learn. I also am Gary Turco. If you're listening, I'm going to reach out to you because I know you tried very hard to get universal school lunch. It didn't pass this session. But the other thing that hurt us this year was taking away the reimbursement for the reduced lunch because our students last year or this year didn't have to pay for that. And that is not in the state budget currently for next year. So we will be talking with our legislators in addition to everything that you're doing as well to get the best cost for our school lunch program.
Thank you. And thank you to the board for increasing lunch prices for next year. So thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
All right. Budget transfers 24-25. Lou's the last one.
Ooh, I'm going to put that up here.
And I can certainly speak to it.
But I mean, I would just want to see, without going line by line, does the board have any questions? Board chair, if you want to entertain any specific questions about, as the board knows, at the end of every year, we have to reconcile the budget, and that involves transfers among line items to get to the ultimate, which is the zero at the end of the year. And that is what this chart displays. But if the board had any specific questions, I'll turn that to you, board chair.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any specific questions? Mr. Halloran.
Can we just explain line 1200, special education?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's the special ed program, which is the paying for all the special ed teachers, paraprofessionals, contracted consultants and specialists that, support all the children, the cost for the outplacements for the school district, and anything else that might appear on an IEP report that has to be addressed legally. That's here. The overview of this is special ed started out this last year as very shaky. Everything was trending to bigger cases, more expensive, complex cases, more kids that needed to go out. And then it stopped for a while. So we had about a 4 or 5 month respite of significant cases that have come to our doorstep. That's allowed us to, ratchet down the overall cost of the operation because, we have came in $1 million under budget on just outplacement tuitions for the year. Couple that with our inability to hire special ed paraprofessionals to the tune of about $650,000 is the lion's share of the $1.9 million. That's right there. And then we have a plus and a minus that go back and forth between the speech and hearing department and special ed. And that was because we pulled out hearing impaired costs, moved them to speech this year. So part of this year-end transfer corrects that. So those are the three big cost drivers, which were very beneficial for the year because, with one of the other things of having a dependence on the non-lapsing fund to start the year, that we were counting on $3 million from the non-lapsing fund to reconcile this year. We were able to make it by not using any of it. And a lot of the things that made that happen are in the special ed area here, where this had a very good year from a budgetary standpoint. They may not say it was a great year from other perspectives, but from a dollar and cents, it was okay. And then some of the tactics that we use throughout the year are we try to push as many decisions off till later in the year because we've now had 3 years in a row where we've had, dependency on the non-lapsing and then pull back from it, roll that money over to try to support the following year's budget. We've been able to do it. If we were out in July, August, September, or October, spending heavily across all areas for both the maintenance and upkeep of the district, as well as other special projects, we may not have had the money necessary to be able to handle rolling over money year to year from the non-lapsing, or maybe not all of it. Maybe we've only been able to do half of it. So, it's a combination of good fortune in the year with how special ed benefited this. And we were able to back end load, and really, those are the projects we're really doing now and getting done, and things ordered based on the remaining funds that are here to be able to get to a successful conclusion and allow the totality of the non-lapsing funds to roll forward to next year.
Thank you, Lou.
Mr. Newton?
Lou, what was the $800,000 difference in maintenance? It went up 800? Was a revi, or is that a down? Is that
That's
going,
down.
it's going the
That's
other?
because
okay.
Under budget.
That's what I wanted to
Holding
make
off
sure.
On
Because I,
doing things, and that helps us to achieve the non-lapsing funds. So it's all right. So, a few things are happening now, but not to the level we've done in prior years.
thank you.
Oh, Mr. Halloran.
You go. Do it. Yeah.
I move that we accept the budget transfers 2024, 2025 as presented. Thank you, Amy.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Thank you. All right, let's go on these budget transfers.
Mary Beatrice,
Yes.
Brittany Carr,
Yes.
Ron Halloran,
Yes.
Timothy Newton,
Yes.
Karati.
Yes.
Sam Sharma,
Yes.
Jessica Weaver,
Yes.
Anastasia Yap.
No.
Motion passes 7-1.
Thank you. Our next action item is BOE CIP transfer.
Very good. As the board may recall, we established an MOU with the town last year that allowed us to make an end of year transfer, and I'll let Lou kind of shine a brief light on what that recommendation would be.
With the new MOU that was authored at the end of November for the modified rules for the board CIP account, we do not have the continuity over the whole year because this MOU will expire next September 1st based on how they've done it. And if it repeats itself next year, you may have a couple months where the plan reverts to the old set of rules because the MOU has expired at that point. Just something to keep in mind. So we have to manage within the levels of resources that are available, either while the MOU is in place or if it expires. So when it goes up to $2 million from the MOU being passed, if it expires without being renewed immediately, the cap on the fund goes down to 1.2 million. And, if we're at 1.5, we have to do some, quick thinking for how to be able to protect the resources for the board. In the year that we've had, we had a decent year on open choice revenues, decent year on regular building use that comes in from organizations. So I was thinking we were going to get 1.6 to 1.7. It ended up being more like $1.5 million for the year. Everything was okay, but it wasn't quite to the same level of activity as we were hoping for. So, my job is to keep it under $2 million. Plus, the MOU allows the path of travel of money to go from the Board of Ed CIP account to go back to the operating budget, will allow us to have a surplus to then move it to the non-lapsing funds. We're recommending $400,000 to be approved, to be taken from board CIP back to the operating budget. We will then, at year end with the town finance director, transfer that 400 into the non-lapsing fund. You do need those last $400,000 to balance to what your dependency is in the budget. It's 3.5 million and you have 3.1 million in the non-lapsing fund right now. So it's the last piece of the budget reconciliation for next year for everybody. But it's worked out great. We're okay in the fund for resources available. We've met our objectives for the year of getting certain things done for several major HVAC projects, as well as funding the necessary technology. So all the right boxes can be checked off for the year. And this puts next year's budget, in good standing, getting started for the year.
And this, just to reiterate, this is, we talked about this with the town when we went through the whole budget cycle. They are aware that this is our plan to take it from the board CIP, put down operating, and then put it into our non-lapsing, and then use that for next year's.
Correct.
budget.
Right. So your motion will show that going from the board CIP back to the board operating budget. And then part two happens by us.
Okay, so one motion is required to move 400,000 from the board CIP into the operating budget.
Right.
As per the MOU, it allows.
I'm going to move that the Board of Education approve the transfer of $400,000 from the the board CIP account to the operating budget as allowed by the MOU.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? I call the vote.
You're gonna miss me.
Sorry, you can call the vote, Deb.
It has Deb's bedtime too.
Mary
Yes.
Brittany Carr,
Yes.
Tom Holland,
Yes.
Timothy Newman,
Yes.
Veronica,
Yes.
Sam Sharma,
Yes.
Jessica Weaver,
Yes.
Stacy Yap.
No.
Motion passes 7-1.
Thank you. All right, we've got two more possible action items. All right, two more. Jessica?
We
take it
will
away.
not, I will not belabor these points. So in front of you on item 5 is one that is late breaking news. The fun of the legislature and the fun of all of these requirements is when these kind of roll out at different times. And our wonderful policy committee met on Monday night. And before that agenda was posted multiple days in advance. But there were two new policies that we are mandated to have. Fun, another one we have to do. So we were hoping that the board could kind of waive our tradition. It's not ever required, but that we could pass them tonight because they are important to be implemented for the next coming school year. But both of them are quite literally just like legal writing. They are just the statute and what it's requiring. And those are both the school climate policy. We already had one of our school climate plan. This is just kind of supplanting what we already had to be in line with what is mandated by the state. So this is not new in terms of something we're just making up. This has already been in practice, and it's just adding that legally mandated language. So as Dr. Brumman brings it up, we already had that. And this is exactly what an example from both Haim, Shipman, and Goodwin, all of them agree on this language. So I think it's pretty standard and what you will see across districts having because it is required to have. Mr. Farisi, if I'm missing anything or my fellow members, let me know.
No, I would just add that it's been approved by the state as well, and is what the state has adopted as the Connecticut School Climate Plan. And we would then adopt as the Newington School Climate Plan.
Great. Are there any questions on that one? Okay, and then the other one is a restorative practices response policy. As we've seen throughout the year, we've seen a lot of restorative practice presentations that we've had. So this has already been of practice, but now the state is requiring not only that we have this policy, but that every school has a form of restorative practice in place. So once again, this is language from the state, and wonderful board member, Ms. Carr, she added some language. I think that is important. Have her speak on it.
So there was only one line added. I suggested adding concerns for safety of staff or students involving school resource officers, because how it was written was originally, unless such challenging behavior, other conflict escalates to violence and or constitutes a crime. So we're also adding in concerns for safety to make sure that is covered as well.
Absolutely. I think Brittany just makes policies that were already approved better, in my opinion. So yeah, are any questions on that one? And then hopefully, like I said, we didn't really add any language. All of this is just from the statutes of the state. And we have to pass these.
So in lieu of having a special meeting, we're hoping to pass them tonight. There is a motion.
So do we want?
Yeah.
You want to read it, Tick? I would love that.
On the first read due to the July 1st, 2025 implementation date, the board moves to approve new policy 5131.911, school climate policy, and policy 5143, restorative practices response policy as mandated by the Connecticut State Department of Education.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mary Beatrice,
Yes.
Carr,
Yes.
John Halloran,
Yes.
Timothy Newton,
Yes.
Amy Parati,
Yes.
Sam Sharma,
Yes.
Jessica Weaver,
Yes.
Anastasia Yap.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. And Ms. Weaver for the last one.
Item 6. All right, here we go. These are all not new to you, so appreciate that. These were ones that we presented last meeting, then took back again at our July 9th meeting. We made no changes to them. Even went, and I just want to take this time to say thank you so much. I think we went through like 35 policies on last night. We were just hungry for it. And just want to say thank you so much. So we did technically review all of the 3,000 policies. We're waiting on staff and relevant ones. So Dana, you're going to be back up there. She's probably off now. For our food policies, there was stuff on transportation, all these kinds of things. It's the business and non-instructional series. So there's that. But none of these were changed. These were all presented last meeting. So if there were any questions, speak now, forever hold your peace. But we didn't hear anything. Okay. Anyone wants to motion?
I'll make the motion to move the Board of Education to approve policies 3313 to 3450, including the new numbering system for these policies.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Halloran.
We're not doing this in purpose to make it longer. I just wanted to thank the policy committee and Mr. Farisi. You guys have done a ton of great work this year. And I just want to say thank you before we didn't have a chance to do it.
I second that. All right, so we're voting on the acceptance of these 3,000 series policies. Deb?
Mary Beatrice,
Yes.
Yes.
John Halloran,
Yes.
Yes.
Amy Parati,
Yes.
Sam Sharma,
Yes.
Jessica Weaver,
Yes.
Anastasia Yap.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously, 8-0.
Thank you. And that brings us back to public participation. If there is anyone in the room who would like to speak or online, you can raise your hand. Not seeing anybody. So I will move to remarks by board members. Ms. Weaver.
You can put the 3-minute on. I'll be done before that.
You might
No,
need the 3
I
minutes.
know. No, I just want to say, I know this is a long meeting. Appreciate the parents coming out and voicing their concerns. I think it'd be great if we have that on every board meeting. I mean, not for our time or our bedtimes, but I think it's always good to hear. And I think letting them know that we hear your concerns. I'll say just my biased opinion as, I think we've talked about it many times at the last board meetings and things, but always wanting to put rigor at the top and having a really good school system that does prepare us for everything. And I can say prepared me, prepared my sister. I think it's preparing my cousins. But having an active citizenry is really what this is about, right? So I just want to thank all of the administrators for continuing to do this work. And, I hope that we can find some satisfactory answers to those things. But I also just want to say congratulations to all of our awardees and a special thank you to Mr. Woods. Hearing from the parents from E-Green, it's just wonderful to see. So lots of great things happening in our district. And welcome, Lou. Hate to see it go. I'll see you at the deli counter. But just want to say thank you for everyone. And as we close out this school year, thank you to all your board members here. Appreciate the time that you put in. We know this is a sacrifice to spend time with your families. And I just want to thank every single one of you for the time, effort, and energy you put, not only when we sit at this table physically for hours on end, but the outside ones where all this work and preparation come in on both our committees, everything outside of it. Thank you all. And again, to Dr. Burma, our administrators, Kristen, Steve, Lou, Deb. Thank you, Deb. Just want to say thank you for a great school year. It's never easy. It's very hard. This is everyone's like, why are you on the board of ed? Oh my God, that doesn't sound fun. I'm like, it's because I love the school system. I love this district and I love the people. So thank you everyone for just a wonderful school year. 3 minutes up.
Good job, Mr. Newton.
I just want to go back to the earlier start of the day. I think that enough parents voiced concerns that they maybe didn't fully understand or didn't understand the concepts of what we did. And I want to make sure that we address those concerns and the members of the board are sent the results of those concerns. That way we can have a uniform approach, because I still agree with the decision that was made. But I think that too little information possibly got out, not intentionally like it was presented, and there were some challenges to the validity of the concept we were using. I just think we owe it to our taxpayers to address it. And if it means we have to have a special meeting in a month to address it, I'm not against it.
Thank you. Mr. Halloran?
I echo what Tim had said, Mr. Newton had said. I wanted to thank all the parents who came out to voice their opinions tonight. There was not a unified voice. There was diverse amount of opinions. And I think that's healthy. And I'd love to see participation from the people we represent, because that really informs what we do. And it's our last board meeting. I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you so much, Lou, for all of your years of service. I know we've said it ad nauseum. Lynn, welcome. And I hope to see you all at graduation next Tuesday, right? All right, we're at the date, right? So finally, just thank you all for your service.
Ms. Carr? I'll keep this brief. Lou, thank you for all your years of service. It's meant a lot to the board, and you're such an encyclopedia of information. So we are going to miss that, but welcome, Lynn. We look forward to working with you. I also wanted to thank all the parents who came out and spoke. You could see the passion behind their voice, and I feel like sometimes parents feel like their voices aren't heard. I think as a board, maybe we can do better at that. I know in policy, it came up the whole agenda structure, and perhaps we should look at that policy again and restructure it so that after public participation, there's an opportunity for us to speak. I know how that can get tricky because sometimes we don't have the full information of what's going on behind the scenes. So maybe a solution to that is if there is, a lot of public participation about a specific topic, we as a board have a special meeting or get together and within 72 hours come with a statement so that people know why we made decisions or our thoughts about what they have to offer. I also will say Dr. Brummett, I don't think I brought it up in previous board members, but she came with me to speak with those from Star Academy. So it's a New Orleans-based program, and there were lobbyists, former board members from Hampton, and directors of the program. And it was a program we supported. We wrote testimony for. We were trying to get state funding for it, which I don't think is happening. But we would have been one of the 3 schools in Connecticut, should funding have gone through, that would have had this great program that shows career opportunities, for those in the middle school level. And hopefully in the future, that is something we can explore. Thank you. Ms. Beatrice?
I'll be quick as well, Lou. Thank you so much for everything. We're going to be very, very sorely missed. So thank you again. Lynn, welcome. It's going to be a pleasure to be working with you. And just to thank all of our admins and staff who make our schools run in the exemplary way that they do. We can't say thank you enough. We know that it's a lot of hard work and a lot of long hours, and you are appreciated. We see all of you and we thank you. The last meeting of the year is always, it's bittersweet because we are sending graduates off into the world, and we're very, very proud of the hard work that they and their families have done to make them successful going forward and whatever that looks like. Again, thank you to the parents that came out. Sometimes these are not easy conversations to have, but I think that I welcome any opportunity for more open communication, and there's no such thing as too much communication. So sometimes the messages and the conversations can be difficult, but each and every one of them is important. So thank you very, very much.
Mr. Sharma?
I'm just going to keep it short. I just want to thank all the parents who came out, and, thanks for coming out, and your voices have been heard, and we will get back to you. And of course, I want to thank Lou for, 32 years of service. So really appreciate everything you've done. Thank you so much, Lou.
I think that was everyone. So yeah, I just want to, it's last meeting. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little excited to have Wednesday nights free during the summer. Unless we need a special meeting, I'm all for that. I love special meetings. But I am excited for our graduation, and I'll be at the John Wallace 8th grade ceremony, so I'm excited about that as well. Last year I was at Kellogg because I needed to be. But I want to say thank you to the board members for this fantastic school year. We will have a few meetings in the fall together, and then elections are happening, but that's a future problem. And I also just want to give a shout out to Michelle and Kristen. There were a lot of parents that came tonight, and I wish that, not for the length, but I do wish that more parents came out to speak about things that they're seeing. Like if we're getting accused of not being transparent, it would be I think that we just need to have more community participation because we have the ability to speak to them or to hear what they're saying and not things that are happening elsewhere. But sorry, sideline. Michelle and Kristen held the forums, and any parent that had a concern, they met individually with them or in a group. So I do just want to thank the two of you for giving your time and explaining your reasoning. It's okay for people not to agree. And I, when I first heard it, the 6th grade last year, I was like, what? But, listening to everything and listening to the reasons behind it. And there's more than just one study that went into the decision. We've talked about the table, but I do just want to make sure that the parents are, know that they're heard. They will get a response in a short time frame. But yes, thank you for everything. And I already said Lou, but yes, thank you, Lou. Yeah. I will. Thank you, Lou. I think it's past my bedtime.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're like, how do we do this? Meeting adjourned at 10:34 p.m.
Thanks, everybody. Hanging in there.
That was so long. He's so